Welcome in. Friday edition, Chicago Hockey Radio, Justin Lynch, Lee Grossman, and Tassos Kirkos. Raven Gasser on the ones and twos. And Canada is golden. Welcome in, everybody. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel if you are new, or if you are not, tell a friend. Follow us on Instagram at Chicago Hockey Radio and leave a 5-star rating and review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Welcome to the show, everybody. Friday edition of the show, we're going to kind of flip it around here a little bit. We're going to spend the first hour talking about the Four Nations face-off, wrapping that up, and then we will do Hawks Hour and Friday question mailbag and all of that in the second hour. Quick reminder, live show, in person, Midwest Coast Brewing, just under 2 weeks away, Wednesday, March 5th. We will all be there. We will be live streaming the game against the Ottawa Senators. The game starts at 6:30. You guys can get there as early as 6. Discounted brews, a whole rooftop, and what?
Tassos looking like he won the tournament himself.
Yeah, I am. I feel like
it.
It
Look like a coach over there with the cap on.
Yeah, I feel like it, honestly. Call me John Cooper.
Yeah.
Call me John Cooper today. So Midwest Coast Brewing. A bunch of you guys have signed up. I am super pumped for that. We've got it all figured out. I think Lee's starting to get a little nervous about performing in front of real life people instead of all of you guys behind the chat, where he can defend himself and cope incredibly hard. But please join us for Midwest Coast Brewing. The RSVP link is in the description of this episode. And live streams next week. We will be live streaming the game on Thursday against the Vegas Golden Knights. So be on the lookout for that one. That one should be a ton of fun. Join the Discord. You know, we're answering questions today in the Hawks Hour. We answer them every Friday. There are 2 ways you can submit your questions. One of them is by joining our Discord, where Raven puts in a nice mailbag every week, and also by DMing us on Instagram. We have a couple from both. All right. The intro is done.
Actually, one more piece of the intro. I just want to say how awesome and like how dope you guys are in chat. Every single stream or podcast or anything we start live immediately starts with like 14, 15 likes, because everybody always just right when they join likes the stream. So you guys are awesome for that. I just have to point that out.
And yesterday's stream was our by far our most watched thing we've done. We had as many as 60 people in there at one time for a minute or two. Mm-hmm. We were like hovering around 40 for a while.
The whole time,
it was really good.
Past 500 subs too, a big number.
And we passed 500 subs, so we are in the works for Chicago Hockey Radio Plus, or whatever. You guys can decide a name, if it's going to be CHR Plus, if it's going to be CHR VIP.
CHR Unplugged.
CHR Patron.
So whatever you guys want to call it, we will be doing that, and we're probably going to be able to even start it a little bit sooner rather than later. So you guys will be in the market for a bonus episode from all of us here shortly that will be non-hockey related. It's going to be a ton of fun. So, all right, who wants to start with the cope? Which one of you two?
Lee's Mr. King of Copium, so I'll let him start.
Look, I think it was... I'm not even going to cope. I'm just going to say that it was an amazing tournament put on by the NHL. I can't remember an event that I think grew the game in this country as much as that one did. I said it going into the game before yesterday, and people were saying that I was already making excuses. I think the growth was already done at that point. You had the entire country, every single sports fan in the country watching that game last night. So I think the job was already done Saturday. Would it have been an extra bonus? Would it have gone a little further if the USA were able to pull up a win in the if Brady scored in overtime, or if Austin Matthews scored in overtime? Would it have been even better? Would it have elevated it even more so? Yes, I do believe that. But dude, this might sound a little strange for the people listening and for us, because we all watch this sport every single day and it's our whole lives. But my friends who are big sports guys, they didn't know who Matthew or Brady Tkachuk were before this tournament, And I know that that sounds kind of strange, but it's that's the reality. And now those two guys are they're household names now. They have elevated themselves into superstardom because of the way they performed at this tournament. It's such a shame that Matthew was only able to play 6 minutes.
They were missing him. Yeah.
And it wasn't just so that people could watch this kid play. one of our most important players. Like that really impacted the team. I mean, dude, there's so many things to talk about for the specific game and maybe things the U.S. should have done differently. But yeah, I didn't want to start with cope. I wanted to start with the positives because boy, oh boy, there were a bunch.
That is a positive, but I do hope this loss doesn't like fizzle out the momentum because I do think that hockey gained a lot of new casual viewers from that game last Saturday. I hope those that tuned into the game last night don't that loss doesn't kind of break their spirits a little bit and that they're still into this game, right? Because I thought it was another fantastic game, one of the best I've ever seen. Another 3-2 win for Canada at the international stage, best on best men's competition. We have not seen that before, have we? I did say it. I feel like the U.S. had to win the game in regulation. If it went to overtime, I feel like it would favor Canada because they just have more of those game breakers to finish. And who else? Like, who else was it going to be but Connor McDavid? I guess they had to have that best player scoring the golden goal script again. Nah, I'm just kidding. And yeah, he was just left wide open there in the slot with all the time and space in the world. I guess the U.S. thought they should have two guys on Marner there for no reason whatsoever. So there you go. McDavid was going to bury that. And Matthews had how many opportunities in the same situation to seal the deal and couldn't do it. Mr. Zero clutch there. Showtime would never. That's why Patty came to us be the American Hockey GOAT, baby.
Do we want to do a little Austin Matthews talk, or do you want to give some overarching feelings first before we do AM34 talk?
So I said it when the goal was buried, and it bears saying again. Look, I was clearly cheering for Canada last night. What? I have a lot of friends.
Were you really?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I was. Just how much it meant to Canadians in Canada is not something I think any of us really could understand. I
think that's bullshit. Continue to make your point.
Okay, but I
mean, he's right, but
that shows a lack of empathy in the understanding of it. But
us Americans aren't really big on empathy.
Yeah, no, not really.
I don't think the Canadians know how much that hurt me to watch my team lose.
Dude, that's the most devastated I've been after a loss since 2014 when Martinez beat us in overtime. The Hawks. Like, I didn't cry like I did 10 years ago because I'm I'm an adult now. But man, I just stared into the void for God knows how long. Like that. Like I feel like a part of me died when McDavid scored that goal, and it sucked because the U.S. dominated that overtime. But here's the thing. When you get all those chances and you can't bury something, it's never a good thing because another team gets one good look. That's how it tends to go down, right? So McDavid, he's a player when he gets the opportunity. He's gonna bury that all day. That's just what he does.
Yeah. But I just Canada needed that probably more than the U.S. did as
on and off the ice,
especially off of it. And I don't know that. Telling the story of this and the reason why, I was personally cheering for Canada. Like, I have friends and family there, too. I recognize what's going on. I know we have a lot of Canadian listeners, too. So I understand how difficult it has been being a Canadian over the last month. And that's not something we can really comprehend. Correct? So...
Yeah, we don't live in Canada, so we don't have that experience.
So, I understand that, that was very, very, very important to them. And you know what? For anybody that says on the U.S. side, I'm not saying either you guys aren't saying this, but a lot of people are saying, oh, well, that didn't really matter now.
No, it mattered. No. And if we won, we would have been saying it too. So that's just copium.
Yeah.
No. Oh, yeah. If the U.S. won, I would be saying how this is America's sport and that we've taken over and that we are now past Canada. I'd be saying all that. I'd be so obnoxious. Thomas wouldn't even be watching the show right now if the U.S. won. So
our reign of lasted 5 days of it being our sport. They took it back pretty quick there.
Still ours.
But there are
we'll reclaim it next year when it really matters, right?
Yeah, this is first of all, this is set up so that, I think hockey's already the most important and most watched sport. I know the figure skating also gets some numbers too for the Winter Olympics, but I think every single person is going to be tuning into the hockey next year.
It's going to be insane. Man. And also just since the last time it happened, how good some of these other countries, not just the US or Canada, how good some of these other countries have gotten. Oh my gosh, dude.
Yeah.
I can't wait for the 26 Olympics, man. This is just a little taste of what's to come. Hopefully we get Russia there too. Absolute cinema.
So I am of the understanding though that that while Canada needed this very much for a lot of things going on off the ice and outside of hockey arenas, for hockey as a sport, this was like, it doesn't mean as much. I know you can say that Saturday got a lot of hockey fans involved. I agree with that. Like, you know, I see all the other sports podcasts that aren't hockey, but like basketball shows and football shows and, you know, basketball personalities and football and baseball personalities talking about what happened last night, even in the wake of the loss, saying how incredible of a hockey game that was. But with a win, that would have been such a big boon to hockey in the United States. Like,
it felt like a missed opportunity.
Kids would have picked up sticks because of that. And hockey programs in different parts of the world would have begun to flourish even more because of another win like that. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a bit of an influx of hockey registrations around the U.S. because of this. But I just think of like the magnitude of it had they won, that would have been a lot bigger. Another No, you first.
Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah, not to the same level, because like nothing could ever top the 1980 Miracle on Ice, but it could have been that kind of legacy moment for USA Hockey. I do think it would have gotten a lot more, kids in the game, etc. I'm sure it still did, but like a win, holy shit, that would totally bolster the U.S. hockey economy here.
Yeah. And not to say, not to say anything, we were talking about watching Miracle after the game, but like, the Miracle on Ice was a long time ago. Like, the amount of
45 years ago now.
The amount of people that resonate with that event that aren't like really diehard hockey fans is dwindling. You know what I mean? Like,
that's kind of sad.
Yeah, but it was a long time ago too. Yeah. Like that could have been like the modern Miracle on Ice, even though it wouldn't have been a miracle. Yeah, but still, that could have been that moment for a couple of people. Another thing I want to mention, the Johnny Gaudreau aspect of this, that pains me a little bit in watching.
I want them to win for him.
Yeah, like Michael Ruzioni coming out wearing the Johnny Gaudreau jersey. There were Johnny hockey chants at the TD Garden in the last moments of regulation. The player of the game jersey, having a stall there for him. The fact that he would have been on the roster had, what happened not have happened. And also the fact too, like, people don't really know a lot of people don't really know this. Even hockey fans don't know this about Johnny Gaudreau. He's the U.S.'s all-time leading scorer at the World Championships.
He passed for that in the last World Championships? Patrick Kane. That's right. Yep.
Yeah. And, so that's a big part of this too. That is also kind of a harsh reality. But I will say, and I said this on the stream yesterday, but the fact that it was McDavid, to me, is what is like still really, really good. Like, it's a different impact than if like Brandon Hagel had scored the overtime winner. You know what I mean?
Oh, that would have been great though. Blackhawks legend, but you're right. Do you see what he did? He posted out his story, like the group chat, kind of firing back at Matthew Tkachuk. God, I love Brandon Hagel. I miss him.
That was the ultimate troll job at the very end.
That's right.
But the fact that it's McDavid, the greatest player on earth, finishing and having that signature moment, that is also undeniably really, really good for the sport too.
He's the face of hockey, right? I mean, in terms of who you want scoring that type of goal in overtime, there probably isn't anybody else you'd rather see if you're the NHL watching this tournament, right? So I think it's definitely, regardless of the result, like yesterday's game was a big win for hockey in the same way that Saturday was. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I mean, you guys want to like get into it a little bit more,
I will say McKinnon named MVP of the tournament. Interesting one for me. I know he had a good tournament for them. I think he had 4 goals or something, but like, you really tell me, David was right there, dude. Like, he scored the golden goal. He was their leading scorer. Like, I thought he was more noticeable for me than McKinnon. I know he did have a goal in that game as well, but I don't know. I think McDavid's a little more important. That was interesting to me.
I agree. I think that McDavid, like, there were a lot of things that we learned from this tournament. I think one of them is clearly that Connor McDavid is the best player in the NHL. He's the best hockey player on the planet. And
I think we knew that.
And it's not particularly there's always chatter like with Nate and stuff, but it's like this was like a stamp. Like, no, McDavid is him. I think that player of the game should have gone to Jordan Binnington, though, instead of Connor McDavid. Yeah. Like, Connor McDavid doesn't have his moment if Jordan Binnington doesn't stand on his head and make 3 unreal saves just moments prior.
I mean, 2019 Bennington TD Garden did resurrect. I did kind of fear that a little bit, right? Because obviously he won them a big cup of the Blues there in that same building. And it is funny too, because Canadians all tournament were yapping at this guy. I remember even the game against the U.S. when he let in 2 goals, he was the reason they lost apparently. And now look, he bailed them out how many times in that game last night? Looked like his prime self, and like you're right, totally gave an opportunity to win the game there in overtime. I mean, the U.S. had them hemmed in their zone. They had so many chances to bury that game, but couldn't do so. And that set up McDavid to do his thing. So, I mean, Bennington, USA had more shots, more opportunities, but Bennington, was a big part of why they won. And I don't think anybody would have expected that going into this tournament. Everybody thought that he had his downfall would go through Jordan Bennington. But you know what? He held his own. Like, he did his job. So
he won them that tournament. If you have a different goalie and they don't make those 3 unreal glove saves back to back to back.
Oh yeah, if Thor Montenbo starts that game, I hate to put these ifs out there because I always make fun of that, but like it is fair to say if Hill Montenbo is in net, the U.S. win that game. So Bennington was a big part of why they won. He outclassed Hellebuck.
I think if you have Logan Thompson in that game, I don't think he makes all those saves either. I think Bennington was touched from God that night. And literally, like, I think that was divine intervention.
He shows up in the big moments. You got to give him credit there.
I don't think that Logan Thompson makes all those saves. Like, I think that's fair to say. Like, what if his glove was just positioned a little bit differently? They don't make those saves. So, like, like, I think he won those games. And what a brutal overtime for Austin Matthews. I mean, otherwise had a really solid game, having both primary assists on both goals. And then just to not bury 2 grade A chances. And then also to leave. McDavid was pretty much his guy. He left him wide open. He didn't need a double up on Marner in the corner. Left him wide open in the slot. Brutal overtime from AM34.
He was too focused on his teammate there. But yeah, I mean, he did have a couple apples in regulation. I thought 60 minutes, he had a really good game. He's probably their best player. But it's like, doesn't mean anything if you don't show up in overtime. I know he had those opportunities, but it's like, dude. Mr. 69 goal scorer. You got to bury one. In this tournament, he had no goals, 0, zilch, and his 0 clutch ability continues. Austin Matthews is 0-7 in Game 7, or championship games in his career right now, if you include this game in there. So that's something he's got to solve. I mean, Marner finally kind of, got past that a little bit when he scored the overtime goal last week and, had the assist and the goal to win the game last night. But Matthews, he just doesn't seem to have that clutch gene in him like Patty Kane. I don't know.
Yeah. Marner showed up for Canada, though. I mean, he had the sick assist on the Bennett goal, too. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, the difference between McDavid and Matthews is that McDavid buries his grade A opportunity.
And he had 1. And Matthews had how many?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And there's another quote with Bennington too. Like I remember, there's another miracle quote. Herb Brooks, I remember, the assistant coach was like, this goalie, Craig, he hasn't been on lately, But then he's like, but have you seen his game when he is on? And that was Bennington last night. Like when he gets in the groove, as inconsistent as he is, like it's hard to beat him. And he did kind of play out of his mind in that OT. It must be said. Yeah.
Just a couple of things on Jordan Bennington. Obviously, he did win that game in TD Garden. He won Game 7 on the road for the St. Louis Blues when they won the Cup. He also won a Game 7 on the road in the Ontario Hockey League for the championship for the Owen Sound Attack when he was in junior hockey. So, maybe this guy, I know he's not among, the elite of goalies in the NHL, but maybe he's one of the most clutch goalies in the NHL.
Yeah. Hasn't done it enough to be, one of the
Stanley
most.
Cup, last night's performance.
I'm not saying he's more clutch than Vasilevsky or Bobrovsky.
He hasn't really been in those moments a ton, though, because the Blues have tended to be mid during his time, except for 2019.
Well, I mean, you still can't say, if a guy's done it more, you can't be because they've had better teams. If you've done it more, you've done it more.
Yeah, I guess. Fair enough. But I think, a top 5 most cluch goalie in the game isn't out of the conversation.
Yeah. That's fair.
Vasilevsky is probably the only guy, and Bobrovsky. Can you name any? I don't know. I guess Jonathan Quick is still active, but he's not that right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's Mr. Game 7 over there, the opposite of Mr. Austin. There's a quote before the game where he's like, oh, we're going to treat this like a Game 7 or something. The second I saw that quote, I'm like, well, shit, we just lost the game. Because we know Game 7s tend to go Maple Leaf land over there.
Yeah, you know what? I won't. Look, obviously the Matthews missed assignment in overtime, should probably know 97's out there. Should probably know where 97 is a little bit more. He gets caught kind of puck watching his teammate Mitch Marner. But to say that he wasn't arguably the United States' best player up until that moment is also probably not true.
Oh yeah, I can acknowledge that. Yeah, but you gotta show up when it matters, though.
Yes, you do. But he dominated that game in a way that I haven't really seen a ton from him. Normally with him, it's a lot of the goals, right? But the thing about being a first line center in the National Hockey League is you can't just score goals. You also have to be able to distribute the puck, right? And showing up with 2 assists was pretty remarkable too in that big moment. So obviously the blown coverage of McDavid is what's going to get the headlines here, but I did think he was very good.
He'd been praised for his defensive play all tournament too, and then there's that lapse there. But he did show up at the 60 minutes. But I will say one guy who didn't show up, and I thought he would, and he was kind of disappointing all tournament, honestly. Jack Hughes, he was a ghost in that game last night. I hardly even noticed him. That's a guy who needs to step up in a game like that. Played with Matthews a lot during this tournament. I was extremely disappointed of his game. Did you see this too? It was pretty funny. The Devils posted a pic from the Four Nations. Somebody in the comments said he was a gold star tournament, and the admin liked the comment. Yeah. I guess they must have not realized they're on their burner.
They probably thought he said invincible or something. I said it last night on the stream, and I had a friend text me about it as well. Jack Hughes, he's just too small. I called his name out a bunch last night on the stream, and every single time it was because he was getting shoved down to the ice. He kind of just gets thrown around. He's too finesse to win hockey games at that level. And so that's why you're not going to see me picking the New Jersey Devils to do anything in the postseason, because I kind of feel the same way about Jesper Bratt too. It's you need some nails to win the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, Nico Hischier.
Yeah, that's Nico Hischier's not going to win you a Stanley Cup though.
He's a pretty damn good two-way player. I think he's kind of underrated.
Yeah, he is. All those things can be true. You can be a damn good player. Jack Hughes is a super talented. When he got the puck last night with a little bit of room, I was something might happen here, because he is so dynamic and he's so skilled and he's so fast. But he's too small. He gets pushed around too easily. You've seen small guys be able to compete at the highest level. But Jack Hughes just doesn't have any of that sandpaper to his game whatsoever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he doesn't have that showtime in him yet. Yeah.
All right, you guys want to do a good topic or a bad topic next?
Let's just get all the bad topics out of the way here.
Okay. Yeah. Adam Fox was
horrible,
invisible.
He's supposed to be one of the best defensemen in the game, and he was hardly noticeable at all in this tournament. We're not impressed. Look at a guy like Werenski and the opposite of it. I think he had the most points in the entire tournament. But Fox, he was supposed to step into that Quinn Hughes role, and he didn't. Yeah.
I'm gonna say something crazy. I don't think he should be on the Olympic team next year. I don't. Why? In these games, it is so clear. Just the fact that Faber. I didn't check. I haven't seen time on ice last night, but I'm willing to take a gander that Faber and Slavin outplayed. Played more than the other two men by 5 minutes. Right? I'm sure those guys played more than any of the other defensemen.
I can check the time on ice.
So if we know that in these big games, in these big moments, you're leaning more on your defensively responsible defensemen. Why have Adam Fox when you're going to have Quinn Hughes and Werenski already? You don't need Adam Fox. I'd rather have 4 defensively responsible juggernauts back there than have Adam Fox. You don't need 3 puck movers, I think. I'm serious. Maybe he goes as the 7th D-man just in case something happens. But I would rather have an Alex Vlasic type in the game.
I was just going to say.
I would rather have a type like that than Adam Fox.
He's still Adam Fox, though.
What does that mean? What does that mean, though?
I see what you're saying, but do you really think USA Hockey is not going to bring Adam Fox to the Olympics next year? I don't know. I agree with you.
D-man, whatever.
Yeah, fair enough. But it is fair to say, too, the U.S. were definitely... That's a game where it's especially when McCarr draws back in for Canada. Definitely we're missing Quinn Hughes and McAvoy. Again, I'm not making excuses. I am making excuses. I am coping. But it is fair to say we were the more banged up team.
It's all the Canadians were crying about after Saturday was Binnington, Tom Wilson. It's all I heard. We're going to do it now. Fuck off. Don't call me a coper after you guys did it for almost a week straight.
When a game like that was so even, the rosters were so even. Even if you look at Muddy Puck, I think what the deserve to win meter, whatever it was 50.5 to Canada, 49.5 for the US. You cannot get a closer game than last night. So any little thing you could find, a little difference, of course we're going to bring it up, right? Oh, what if this happened? But again, we don't want to get into too much hypotheticals here. But I'm still feeling pretty good for our Olympic chances next year.
Do you want the numbers?
Yeah.
Brock Faber, 28-50
Oh my
of
gosh.
ice time. No, hold on.
Oh
Yeah,
no.
getting
Is
carried
he,
by
are you about to say
Slavin.
30?
Slavin, 28-32.
Okay. Oh my
Okay.
gosh.
Adam Fox, amongst all United States defensemen, played
Do you have the least?
the least amount of ice time
No way.
I'm not surprised.
You might be onto something.
at
15?
17:05.
Wow.
A minus,
Over 10 minutes less.
Wow.
over 10
Wow.
minutes less.
Jeez.
He was a -2.
Ah!
Wow, that is pretty telling. Maybe Mr. Crosby's onto something there. I don't know. Maybe it's just a
he was
Four Nations though. Like, this isn't a World Cup. I don't know. Like,
No, because I watched a lot. I watched a lot of New York Rangers hockey last year, especially in the postseason, and I thought he was extremely underwhelming in the playoffs last year. I didn't say a whole lot of it because I think he had like decent numbers, like points wise, because that's kind of like obviously he's going to have decent numbers points wise when he was manning that power play unit, which was like pretty much the best power play unit in the league last year.
Panarin Merchant.
Why should he play?
Shesterkin Merchant.
He's not a top 6 defenseman. He's not a top 6 American defenseman. He's just not. He's not good enough defensively, and he's not as good at offense as Werenski or Hughes is. So he shouldn't play.
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with you. You also know how much USA Hockey loves their New York Rangers. So.
I know, it's so brutal.
Well, by the way, the Rangers for the USA Hockey were completely abysmal. I mean, that's another thing I think they got to learn from the Olympics. Like, we need a better fourth line next year. I know they're going for these role players again, like they did with the World Cup of Hockey. It didn't work. Like, Nelson was not an impact player. Trocheck was like useless.
Yeah.
Like, those guys, I don't want to see those guys touching USA Hockey ice again. Like, the amount of good players you left off the table here, guys like Clayton Keller and Tage Thompson, guys like that. Thompson, there's no reason he shouldn't have been there. And when we scratch, like I got the mindset for scratching Kyle Connor, but like at the same time in a game like that that's so close, when you need game breakers who can finish when they get those quality chances, that is a guy you would have liked to have seen out there. But anyway,
that was a thing I argued with you early on in the game, because you brought up like why are you scratching Kyle Connor for Chris Kreider? I didn't know they weren't going to use Chris Kreider at all. Like in hindsight, you were right about that because it's like, what's
Chris
the point?
Kreider played 6 minutes and 25 seconds last night.
Yeah, so if you're not going to use him, just play Kyle Connor.
I figured that move was made because you trust Chris Kreider maybe more defensively than Kyle Connor, but he didn't play at all. And when he was out there, he was a complete non-factor. So I think that if you have guys, like a Tage Thompson as a center option too, over a Trocheck, and then even like if you have Clayton Keller as like your extra, he could have been used last night, And so I mean you had 2 forwards, Matthew Tkachuk and Chris Kreider, that only played 6 minutes.
Yeah, and I think it'll help next year too, because like the rosters will be bigger too, right?
True.
For the Olympics, like 14 forwards, 8 defensemen, so they can afford to have more insurance options, for sure. Different game too, like probably gonna be less physical because IHF versus NHL, much different style of game, right? Yeah, so you could probably design the roster a little bit, have more guys like the Caulfields and stuff there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you guys want to have the Jacob Slavin conversation?
I mean that's the best defensive defenseman on the planet.
Oh, yeah, no question. That's fine. I put in the notes that he might be the most underrated player in the game, but when everybody's saying he's underrated, doesn't really make him underrated. Probably not. But, like, he was probably the best defenseman for the U.S. in terms of just playing defense, like you said. Definitely, we brought up this, like, discussion on the show before, having a second, like, award for defenseman, best defensive defenseman. Like, he would win that every year. Like, that would be like Bergeron owning the Selke Trophy would be like him owning the defensive defenseman award because he's just so good. I think that's somebody for Alex Vlasic to model his game after. If he could become something like that, that'd be awesome for us, right?
Yeah, I couldn't believe that play he made on Crosby. Crosby had a sitter in the crease, and somehow he beat him to the puck and got. I mean, it's as good as a goal, Yeah. I cannot say. And you say like is he underrated if nobody's calling him underrated? Like, or if everyone is rather. Yeah. Before this tournament, I wouldn't. If you said who's the most underrated player in the NHL, I wouldn't have said Jacob Slavin. That wouldn't have been my first guy.
Really?
Maybe it should have been.
Would it have been yours? Would you have said that's the most underrated player?
I probably would have said that. Yeah.
Really? I don't know if I believe that.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Maybe
But
you're
like,
right. Maybe
I've noticed him for a while, man. Like he's always kind of flown under the radar. And he's just so that those types of players tend to be the most underrated. Defensive defensemen don't get enough love in this game. It's always the goalies get the credit for everything, but it's like you need a good defense in front of you.
Yeah, I mean that guy could save the fucking Titanic, dude.
Yeah.
Special performance.
Yeah, he would have directed them away from the icebergs.
Did you mention the Crosby opportunity with the wide open net?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just unbelievable stick
Insane.
work, breaking up passing lanes, just making it so the US or Canada's opportunities were like very limited when he was out there, and you had to make good on them. You know what I mean?
And he's also like, you can't, guys, especially like the Team Canada guys, some of those like speedsters, he's such a good skater too. You can't like flip the puck by him and try to like go around. He's too good because he'll either knock the puck out of the air or his positioning's just too good and you can't get around him. Like you can't beat him that way. And then he's also a phenomenal shot blocker. It's like he
made a few huge blocks.
Dude, he can do everything.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Unreal player.
Good breakout passer too. Like he's not an offensive guy, but he can get involved in the offense if he wants to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Yep. The fact that the Carolina Hurricanes have him locked up for the next 8 years at like 6.4 or something like that
is that one of the best contracts in the league?
That makes me
want. Is that the best contract in the league? Like that's crazy.
That guy could make $10 million.
He should be making more than Seth.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's wild. That's crazy. Highway robbery. He needs to find a new sports agent there.
All right. What else from this game? Honestly, you guys want to talk about the too many men missed call in overtime?
The rest definitely they definitely set a precedent in that game. Like they weren't going to call like anything unless it was absolutely obvious. I will say Canada got a power play and we didn't. I kept expecting to get a call back at some point. That felt like the time to do it, but like you're not going to call anything in that overtime. Fair enough. I'm not using that as an excuse, but like it did feel like that was a potential missed call. I think it's fair to say.
Yeah.
But it is what it is.
How sick was that penalty kill by the U.S. though? That was nasty.
Yeah, I mean, so much that automatic power play. Yeah.
Eichel breaking his stick and then he was still able to like intercept the pass with his foot. That was electric.
I hate to say it, like maybe I got a little premature there, but it's like this game was like looking so similar to the Saturday game because Canada scores the first goal, then we answer, then we take the lead in the second, and after that PK, I'm like, shit, like we're gonna win this, right? And then right after that PK, Sam Bennett, it's like, and it was like the goal for us of Getzel. It's like I feel like it just ruined all the momentum, and Canada just kind of carried that over. And once it went to overtime, I'm like, well, we know this is gonna go. Yeah.
I was not feeling good going in that overtime because I really did feel like Canada was playing significantly better.
Yes.
But man, should we have won that game in overtime? We had like three amazing opportunities. I think we're gonna think about the glove save, the two glove saves. He had the one on Matthews, and then he had the one from a super rough angle on Brady that was just absurd. But the blockers he made on Austin Matthews, like right on the top of the crease, that'll like play in my mind forever.
Yeah, Austin Matthews has like 3 to 4 chances on Jordan Binnington and can't finish. McDavid has 1 chance on the best goal in the NHL and takes. That's a difference right there. That is a difference in a hockey game. McDavid versus Matthews. McJesus comes out on top.
Yeah. Before we do some clips here, I do want to read this. Actually, this is from Michael Russo on Twitter. He works for The Athletic. He's plugged in with the Minnesota Wild greatly. But this is really, really important to me. And, I think players as well. So I'm just going to read this tweet and then we can talk about it. This is why Dylan Larkin is an NHL captain. Hopefully some American NHLers read this. Here's the quote. We've had a tough time with USA Hockey getting guys to play in the World Championships. Guys who are at home watching this, I hope they're wanting a piece of it. They've got to go to the World Championships and prove themselves and play for their country. We've got to start winning that tournament. And I think that's where, Canada, those guys go and they play. And that's where it starts. Pride for your country, pride for the flag, putting that crest on and going out for a game is just an unbelievable feeling. This grew the game really well, but I hope it pushes our guys to want a piece of this. So basically, Larkin is telling guys to get your rear ends to the World Championships. The United States has only won the World Championships twice in the history of the event. The years 1933 and 1960.
Woof.
Yeah, the Wolf is right. Well, it was 16 World Championships of the Olympics. Yeah.
They won both in the same year.
Oh, okay. Wow, that was quite a year for USA Hockey. That was another thing too. It would have been nice to sweep the World Juniors and Four Nations, but we could still do it the World Championships, right? But the US has a long, long drought to break there. That's kind of crazy. In
But
6 years, they haven't won it.
Dylan Larkin might be my most underrated player in the NHL.
He was so good at this tournament too. What an X factor.
Just north-south guy, and like that is why he's a captain, and that's the mentality that you need throughout the entire U.S. program from development up to the big boys.
But if I'm looking at some of these teams at the bottom of NHL rosters, that like bottom of the league standings, if I'm Tage Thompson, I'm going to the World Championships this year.
Yeah.
If I'm If I'm
Cole
Cole
Caulfield.
Caulfield, I'm going to the World Championships. If I'm Clayton Keller,
Yes.
I'm going to the World.
Yes.
If I'm
Yep.
Seth Jones,
No
Seth
excuse.
Jones goes to the Worlds.
Alex
you know?
Vlasic too,
Alex Vlasic
Yes.
should be going to the Worlds.
which he went to the last one, right?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah,
he
he
did go
did. He
last
went-
year.
he
Break
went
days
last
are,
year.
and he's probably not ready yet, but yeah.
But even like some of the younger guys, like Seattle, like Matty Beniers needs to go to the Worlds.
Yeah.
If I don't know, if Anaheim misses the playoffs, like Troy Terry needs to go to the Worlds, and even Trevor Zegras needs to go to the Worlds, right?
If they weren't on this team for this Four Nations tournament,
Take it personally and go deliver.
They don't go to the Worlds, they shouldn't go to the Olympics. You shouldn't even invite them.
It should be like a tryout, right?
Even if you're on the team.
If you're a fringe guy on the team.
The New York Rangers are out of a playoff spot right now.
Yeah.
Like you're telling me Adam Fox shouldn't go to the Worlds.
Oh, he's got a lot to prove.
Chris Pratt, like all of those guys.
And I would hope, I would hope this year's Worlds means a little more too, just off the break of his Four Nations and just the precursor for the Olympics. I would hope we'll see more NHL level talent in it this year. And I think the point you're making here is like the U.S. has plenty of players who will be available for this tournament. There's no excuses for them not to be able to ice a gold medal winning roster this year.
But like even within the last like 5 to 10 years, like last year they tried. Brady Tkachuk was the captain at the Worlds last year. They, I don't know. I could pull up the roster, but there was a good
Probably the best
roster.
I've had in a while.
Dude, they used to send like AHL guys and guys that like American guys playing over in the European leagues, like sprinkled in with a couple of like third liners in the NHL. Like,
well, that was the first year I
that's not
actually
gonna
watched
get it
the
done.
Worlds because like I've seen those rosters. I'd be like, why would I even bother with this tournament? I don't want to watch these plugs. But like last year, like they sent an actual team. Like, okay, I'll tune in this tournament. And plus, Bedsy was there, so that was another reason to watch. I wonder if he'll be there for Canada.
I would imagine, like,
should.
if you want to
I
play
hope
for
so.
Canada at the Olympics, like, you better be there.
He's got a lot to prove. I would say,
Especially
like
when you're that
his
young.
Olympic spot isn't guaranteed. Like I hope he's in it, but it's not guaranteed. Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It's also the closest thing you get to like playoff hockey if you're not making the playoffs.
Yeah, like you might as well get those reps in rather than just sitting on the beach for a few weeks, right? That's I'm sure those guys like why not? Like why not?
And Tassos, you've made this point like 100 times on this show. For these young guys, they don't need the rest. You're 19 years old.
No,
Go
the
fucking
unks
play
need
hockey.
the rest. Yeah, not the young guns. For
Even
sure.
the 25, like, I don't know how old Tage Thompson is.
I think he's
like,
the Austin Matthews age. I think he's like 27.
go to the Worlds.
Yeah.
Go to the Worlds. Even if you get bounced in the first round of the playoffs, like they always hold a couple of roster spots open for guys that want to join after they get bounced in the first round. Go. Like this is the time. Go. The United States hasn't won this tournament since 1960. That is like one of the biggest jokes in hockey I can imagine. You know what I mean?
I think the U.S. are finally starting to turn a corner here where that culture change is happening, where they're starting to care about this stuff as much as the Canadians, but they're not there yet. They need to get to that level. I mean, you gotta emulate the best to be the best, right? Take that influence. So I think it starts now because they have had this reputation to be the Maple Leafs at international hockey on the men's stage, where it's like all this hype, all this talent, but they can never come out on top. Now is the time to start changing that. The junior side, it's happened. It needs to start happening on the men's side.
Yeah, you got to let it bother you. You got to let the losing bother you.
For sure.
Yeah. I agree.
But you talk about how much attention this got in North America. It was awesome. And then, if this postseason, I thought the postseason last year was awesome. It broke records.
The last two postseasons
have
have really been.
If it can continue to get better and better, and like we have a phenomenal postseason, and pray to God it's another like really good Stanley Cup Finals matchup, and then you go into the Olympics next year. I mean, dude, we're talking about growth of the game that we haven't seen ever. I really do believe that.
I will say this, like see McDavid score that winner in this Four Nations tournament, you know what outcome the NHL will love more than anything in this playoffs, right? That for me, like I watched that like that. I don't know, like that feels like a precursor to me. It feels like this is his time. I think if he could do that in the Oilers game 7, that would do wonders for NHL in overtime. I don't necessarily want to see that because like I don't necessarily want to see what everybody else wants to see, but I can't deny that would be great for the game.
Yeah, what is your guys' ideal Stanley Cup match? I know this is kind of a little off topic, but let's do it. What is your guys' like ideal but also realistic Stanley Cup matchup?
I'd like to see a rematch with the Panthers and the Oilers. I think that's not out of question. We haven't really seen that since 07, 08, 08, 09 at the Pens and the Red Wings. I'd be cool to see that. And I'll say if I go back to that, Crosby lost in 07, 08 and then won in 08, 09 the rematch. So maybe that could be McDavid's chance at redemption, right? Yeah.
That is probably the answer.
Can
to
you
spice
say
it
yours,
up a little
please?
bit. It's the Oilers versus the Maple Leafs.
Yep.
It's the Oilers.
Yeah.
That was the only
David
other one I was going to
Matthews.
say.
Yeah.
It's the Oilers versus the Maple Leafs. Matthews versus McDavid.
Canada's guaranteed a cup.
Yeah, Canada guaranteed a Stanley Cup, which I think, in the same way that we're talking about like, oh, if the U.S. had won that game, but the fact that Connor McDavid scored the goal, how good it is for the sport that the best player played the brightest star on the biggest stage. That would be equivalent. You know what I mean? Like that would be the equivalent to that. So yes, that would be.
Can you imagine if we got Leafs Oilers? One of those guys is breaking their droughts. One of the teams breaking the Canadian drought for Stanley Cups in 31 years. Can you imagine how big that would be? And then you're just rolling straight into the Olympics next February.
The momentum.
God! We're talking about we're catching up. MLB, NBA, we're on the way. That's what we're talking about if we get that. So, I mean, bullish. I'm bullish on the sport. I'm bullish on the NHL. Obviously, we're bullish on the Chicago Blackhawks. That's why we're doing the show. But, wow, man. Opportunities for some great things to happen.
Yeah, as great as that would be for the game of hockey, man. Like I just find this Canadian Cup drought super funny, so I hope it continues. But like that would be great for the game. I think the viewership would go great for those live streams for CHR. So maybe that's what we need, right?
Yeah.
Just a couple of things before we get to clips. Sidney Crosby's international resume: 2005 World Junior Gold Medalist, 2010-2014 Olympic gold medalist, 2015 World Championship gold medalist, 2016 World Cup of Hockey, 2025 Four Nations Tournament.
Yeah, I think if it wasn't already in question, like he's cemented himself as the greatest Canadian player of all time on the international stage. Like, yeah.
Oh yeah. Not even close.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Did you guys see the Spanish call of that goal?
I bet it was electric.
It was really awesome. It was really good stuff.
Yeah, I can't say I tuned into that. The second that goal went in, like I just turned off everything and just shut down for the night. Like, I don't want to see anything. Now that it's a new day, maybe I'll go and rewatch some of the stuff. But I don't know, I just want to pretend it never happened as an American.
When I was screaming on the live stream, it probably sounded like Spanish a little bit, but yeah, I've not heard this yet.
There was also a similar post about Cale Makar's stats so far throughout his career. I can't find it next. I don't know. I had it. I thought I saved it, but I didn't, I guess. So yeah, that's awesome. So we have a bunch of clips actually we can get to. Raven, can we hear?
I don't want to hear about fucking Brad Marchand.
What's he doing in here?
I'm gonna blow a gas.
Oh, I know what that is. I know what clip that is. Yep,
Can we hear? Can we hear the first one? John Cooper, the head coach.
I just hope Canada's proud, because every player in that room is proud to be a Canadian. And yeah, did we need a win? Not only like our team, but Canada needed a win. And the players bared that on their shoulders, and they took it seriously. And this one was different. This wasn't a win for themselves. This was a win for 40 plus million people, and the guys knew it, and they delivered.
Yep. I'm just glad we don't have to hear any more John Cooper for a while.
Yeah, jeez, that guy is such a fucking.
Imagine
He thinks his shit doesn't stink.
He's the next Hawks coach.
I'd love him.
I mean,
I'd love him.
I'd be the biggest John Cooper fan if that was the case.
Yeah.
But for the moment, though, I'm kind of sick of hearing from him.
Yeah,
Like, go take your victory lap, buddy.
It's
Yeah.
fucking mega mind over there. It pisses me off.
He's definitely the most, know-it-all kind of smug,
He's
In
got
all,
some
in all of
cockiness in him.
sports, maybe.
Yeah, in all of sports.
He's very cocky. Not a lot of coaches are, but he's very cocky. He doesn't even pretend to hide it. Yeah. But when you've won as much as he has, you can afford to be. Yeah.
I've also, I won't air anything out publicly, but I have heard through the grapevine some things I don't like about John Coover, just, in his person and his character, but I won't, divulge further into that. Maybe off air, I can tell you guys a little bit about that, but no, a great hockey coach, maybe not the best person.
A lot of the best coaches aren't necessarily the best people.
Yeah. We know, no.
Can we hear the third clip, Raven, Connor McDavid?
Yeah.
About what it means to not only represent your country but also win at this stage?
Well, it means everything. I think you saw everybody, lay it all on the line. I think the Kachuk bros were grinding through things, Sid grinding through something. Everybody, Harley stepping in again. Everybody laid it all out there. And it just means the world to us to find a way to get it done. That's what we do.
It's hard to I made some jokes last night about McDavid not winning a Stanley Cup, and this might be the only. It's hard to feel like this guy is not about to win 3 in a row.
This was what he needed, right? The monkey's off the back now. Now that he's a guy taste, he's not going to want to. He's going to want to get more of it, right? So no, he's the thing. McDavid's still he's 28 years old. He's still got so much of his career ahead of him. He's in his prime right now. He's got so much time to win a championship there, and I'm sure it's going to happen at some point. It feels inevitable. I mean, they're literally as close as you can get without winning last year. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if it happened this year. Yeah.
The best players in all sports tend to get theirs at some point.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, Ovi's came really late, so he's got time.
Yeah. And,
I think Connor McDavid's, I don't want to disrespect the legend Alexander Ovechkin, but Connor McDavid's the best player I've ever seen play hockey.
That's not a fair, or that's not an unfair criticism. Alexander Ovechkin's going to finish as the best goal scorer of all time, and I don't know that he's in my top 8.
Yeah.
7 players, maybe he slides in at 7 or 8, but
yeah, I think just for having that record, you put him at 8. Yeah, just his number.
Yeah, but I'm not. He's not over Wayne or Mario.
No, not even. No, that's the thing. I think Crosby and Ovi have always get compared in their careers, but Ovi's in Crosby's on another level compared to Ovi. That's not. No, they're not as close as they make out to be.
I do like that McDavid said. I know we're going to be talking about how Matthew Tkachuk was obviously injured and has only played 6 minutes. I think Brady Tkachuk was obviously injured last night. He was. If you looked at the pace compared to the Finland game to last night, I mean, it looked like he was, crawling out there.
Still got a goal. Still one of their better players. So credit to him there. But it's there was something to be said the style game they play. It can take a toll, and is that a big part of why they're kind of banged up there at the end? So maybe in the future could serve some energy in these earlier games. I don't know.
So speaking of I think this is sort of the dam bursting for Connor McDavid, and a lot of people are talking about, at least in Canada and Canadian media, is this the passing of the torch from Sidney Crosby to Connor McDavid on the international stage?
Yes.
Yeah, you would think. But Crosby's still here, though. I mean, until he's gone, it's still, he's the captain. It's still his team, his country. So they talk about in the locker room he's a god over there. You tell me that he's still not the guy. Obviously McDavid, he's the top producer now, but it's still
McDavid was the guy at this tournament. He's the one who scored against the U.S. in both games. McKinnon too. I know Crosby had the 3 assists against Sweden, but McDavid's the guy. And you can't tell me next year that it's not even going to be more apparent. McDavid's the guy.
So you think he gets to see next year? Yeah.
No, I don't think he'll get the C, because I still think Crosby's going to go. Even if Crosby's game falls off a little bit in the next 12 months, I still think he's going to be able to play. Crosby would still go to play bottom 6 minutes, and he'd be fine with that, and you'd still give him the C.
There's something to be said. Crosby's playing injured this entire tournament, couldn't shoot the puck, and he was still effective. I mean, that just goes to show how good he is. Yeah.
So speaking of the Kachucks, we do have the Brad Marchand clip. So I have it twice for Raven. The first time it's about half the clip, and then I gave him the full clip. but the half clip, it's better audio on the thing. So can we hear the half one first and then the whole clip after?
The Chuck brothers, I mean, they play their game. They do what they do. Sometimes when you shoot your mouth off in the media, I mean, it bites you. You know, you can do that during the season, but when you're playing best on best, it's different, you know, and they got a little bit ahead of themselves.
Yeah.
What a joke.
I mean,
what a joke. I watched every single Brady and Matthew interview, this entire thing. They weren't shooting their mouths off. They said that they talked about it in a group chat, and then Brandon Hagel was like, oh, group chats. We don't have group chats. And so Matthew was like, okay, dude, like, I guess you guys don't like each other. Like, what? They get painted in this crazy picture like they're the biggest assholes. Every single interview they do, they're so respectful to the people they're playing. They're respectful. They're always just bowing down to their teammates, giving all their teammates all the praise and respect in the world. These guys are so respectful. They're great teammates. Everybody loves playing with them. Shut up, Brad Marchand. You were invisible tonight. You're washed now.
Yeah, he was the polar bear at Arthur, Texas of that team. Like, he was just there as the water boy, as he would say. Yeah. So, and look at the Chucks. Nobody gives it more on the ice than those guys. Like, the way they lay the body around, lay everything on the line. Those guys don't play for the cameras. They play for love of the country and nation. And so I don't want to hear any of that nonsense.
Brady was injured, and he played through it and scored against you, Brad Marchand. Shut up.
And Matthew was still on the bench. You know, he really wanted to play, but he just didn't have the okay, you know?
Here's the point that I think you guys might be missing a little bit. Like, you guys understand what Brad Marchand's role is and always has. Like, this is the guy
pest. He's a mouth guy.
This is the guy who licked somebody in the face. This is the guy who took his glove off and grabbed another human being by their neck earlier this season.
He's a rat. He's a pest.
It's like the Kachucks do what Brad Marchand has done his entire career.
But that's what he's doing even with that quote.
I know, but it's still just so corny. It's like after the fact, you'd expect him to like tip his cap.
No, he's not a classy guy. He's not good. That's not what Marchand is.
He's gonna retire just talking shit about guys that do the same thing as him.
That's why he's one of the most hated players in the league. Unless he's on your team, like nobody. Yeah, nobody's.
You got mad at me for saying this earlier today. I think that's fucking corny, and I'm gonna say that, and I don't care. Like, that's corny to do.
Can we?
Yeah, like I thought Hagel's was funny though. Like, I thought his retort, like that was funny. I can laugh at that, right? He's joking around with like the Marchand stuff was like, really, like, you're attacking a guy's character. I don't know, whatever.
Can we hear the full clip, even though the audio is not the best?
Sometimes when you shoot your mouth off in the media, I mean, it bites you. You know, you can do that during the season, but when you're playing best on best, it's different. You know, and they got a little bit ahead of themselves. But they're great players, and there's not many guys in the league that play the way they do, and they're extremely effective. But you know, when you start giving teams ammo, it can work against you as well. So you know, they're going to have long, great careers, and I think you saw how effective they can be at every level. They do it in the regular season, they did it in this tournament, and they're competitors. They're a big reason why that team is what they are.
Thanks, Brad.
First of all, whatever's going on in the background of that
dude,
clip,
who's fucking chainsawing a tree in the back?
Yeah, I don't know.
God.
He gave them their flowers at the end. That's why I played the full clip.
But still, I can't wait. I am praying that Boston somehow makes it to this postseason and then plays Florida early and just gets swept.
Yeah, we better done that Florida beating up Boston. I don't think they're even going to be there.
No, I don't think the Bruins are making the playoffs.
Yeah, they're not it. Their time is done. Yeah, no.
All right. The only clip we had from the U.S. is from Brady Tkachuk. So can we hear that one on the losers, Team USA?
This sucks. I thought this team deserved more. And we had chances there to finish it off. And this has been my favorite hockey memories, just playing for this team, playing with this group, and this is going to give us a nice motivation for a year's time.
Can you describe the feeling when you scored that goal and just looked up to the crowd and did that big roar out?
I mean, this has been these atmospheres in Montreal, being the enemy there, but being here and not getting the cheers that usually get when we play here. And I mean, it was just an unbelievable experience. This whole week has just been such a memorable one, and something that I've learned so much personally, and just to be a part of this group and this team and be a part of USA Hockey has been better than I expected.
Can we just clip like the first second of that, Raven, just to put on the soundboard? This sucks. That would be really funny.
I love.
That was how I felt after that game.
I loved it, but Justin, brother, I'm telling you, when we win a gold medal next year, it's gonna all be okay. We're gonna look back at this tournament very fondly.
Character building.
It's the character builder for the one that matters.
Warm up.
And if you think that these guys aren't gonna be absolute nightmares next year in the Olympics, you're a fool.
And I will say this, like we brought this up on the show before, if the 26 Olympics are a must win for the USA, if it wasn't already, it definitely is now. Like if we lose to fucking Canada again next year in the Olympics, like, no, I don't want to hear it. Yeah. Like it'll have been 30 years, 3 decades since the 96 World Cup of Hockey. Last time they won best on best men's hockey. And hopefully we can win the World Championships and make that not the thing. But the thing is, we're still dealing with a massive drought right now. And like we showed in this tournament, we can ice a roster just as good as the Canadians. So there's no excuse, no reason for us not to be able to beat them on this stage. We've done it in the prelims. We just got to do it when it matters on the big stage. That's for sure. 46 years since the Miracle on Ice, and we haven't won a gold since then. Like, we need a new movie here, folks. So we got some content. We got the pieces. We just got to put them together.
If the U.S. loses to Canada in the Olympics next year, like in the medal rounds, I'll get a maple leaf tattooed on me.
You sounded pretty confident over there.
Yeah, I'm not worried.
Maybe they'll add your Calgary Flames tattoo.
Unless Quinn Hughes is out, Austin Matthews is out, Matthew Tkachuk is out, and fucking Charlie McAvoy's out. Like, no, if it's some cupcake bullshit like Mickey Mouse game like that, no. But if it's best on best, we're healthy. Yeah.
Yeah, we need to have our top guns. We need to have all our top guns.
This is the fuel because now next year it's gonna be mostly this team that just lost this tournament. They're gonna remember it. You know, it's gonna fuel them. They're gonna be pissed off. It's gonna be a different kind of motivation. U.S. are winning the gold medal next year.
I sure hope so, man, because I'm sick of losing to Canada, dude.
All right, should we take a break?
Actually, I have one more thing to bring up before this break, just to kind of seal the deal here on this American hockey goat nonsense. Here's from O.V. Clapbaum on X. Patrick Kane's first 8 seasons. Made playoffs 7 of 8 times. 16 playoff rounds he won. 114 postseason points. 3 cups. 1 Conn Smythe.
Jeepers.
Stanley Cup winning goal. Now here's Austin Matthews' first 8 seasons. Made playoffs 8 of 8. Won 1 playoff round. 48 postseason points. They are not the same. They are not the same.
No, they are not.
Woof. That's my goat.
And it saddens me. It saddens me if the best American hockey player of all time wasn't there. I think he would have been more effective than, I don't know, Trocheck. But anyway, that's another talking point.
All right, let's take a break. Back-to-back on the weekend for the Chicago Blackhawks and Seth Jones trade rumors. That and more on Chicago Hockey Radio on the other side of the break. Keep it here.
Woo!
You're watching and listening to Chicago Hockey Radio on the Alithio Network. Justin Lynch, Lee Grassman, Tassos Kirkos, Raven Gasser. One more point on the Four Nations face-off before we do Hawks talk, just because we mentioned it on Wednesday's show. Did you watch, Justin? I know you didn't, Lee, but Raven and I did watch it together. The Four Nations Unveiled show that the NHL did.
Oh, I haven't seen it yet. I do plan on watching it, though.
The only reason we were able to watch it was because the NHL did the very smart thing of putting it on YouTube. It was excellent, I have to say.
Is that right?
It was truly, truly excellent. Really good. I mean, it's what you kind of expected it to be a little bit, but it was really, really good. I highly recommend
Was
everybody.
it like the level of like that Prime show like they did early in the season?
No, not quite to the same extent, but it definitely just satisfies the appetite for something like that. Really, really good stuff. I don't know if you had anything you want to throw in, Raven, but just really, really fun to watch. They did a good job of covering. I guess he has nothing to add. But
I'll definitely get into it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you guys should definitely check it out. Worth the watch. I'm curious. I think the second episode comes out next Tuesday or something like that.
Won't be watching that one.
Yeah, no, I don't want to watch anything that has to do with this game. I know that one doesn't have anything to do with it, so I'll watch that.
Yeah, it was really good stuff. Okay, so Blackhawks hour in the second hour. A little bit of a change up. Blackhawks right back into the thick of it, back-to-back this weekend, 3 games in 4 nights. And so I actually was looking at the calendar here between podcast Monday, Wednesday, Friday, between the Hawks playing Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday of next week, us going to the K-Wings game on that Sunday, and then the Hawks play again that following Monday. We don't have something that you won't be getting. I mean, I guess you won't be getting CHR content on the day we go to the K-Wings game, but like that's still something for us. That the only day off we have really of no CHR anything is the day before the live show. So
is that right?
Yeah.
Wow, that's a long way away.
That is a long way away.
We will be grinding here with this Blackhawks team. Blackhawks, Chicago Blackhawks, they exist. I almost forgot about them.
I don't know who plays on our team.
Yeah, who are these people? I will say it's been kind of nice getting a break from his team, but I guess now we got to get back into it, right? They are back. They've been back to practicing this week since Tuesday. They've had a couple practices. I think they've had practice today too, and they have back-to-back games this weekend against the Jackets and the Leafs. So here we go. I will say, I would brought this up before, like. It's going to be really hard getting back in this team after that Four Nations, man. Like, just the level of hockey that we got to watch, and now going back to this team, it's going to look like a different league. I mean, yeah, back to TJ Brody defense. Like, it's going to take some getting used to. Yeah, it's going to be going from watching the NHL.
So I will, to answer your question of who plays for the Hawks, the exact same players that played on the Hawks before we ended.
But
I was really hoping that wasn't going to be the answer.
Yeah, me too. But that is in fact the answer.
Trade or something. There might be a trade pretty soon. Hint, hint.
Well, it sounds like since the game ended last night, there's been like a couple of things happening in the NHL. So yeah, maybe all these GMs really just chilled out and just put it on the back burner for a week and a half here while this tournament went on. Now we're going to get back to a lot of action, maybe some trades and some signings and stuff. So
they're finally waking up for their hibernation there. The phones are going to start ringing here pretty soon. KD, get in that train, man. Let's get this Seth situation sorted.
Are you guys surprised though? You know, I know we talked about it on Tuesday, but you know, now we're even a few days removed from that and still no movement. Like, is the surprise still there that everybody's kind of still on the roster? You know, no Ryan Donato move, no Connor Murphy move, nothing.
I mean, I'm surprised, like, nobody else has done anything. So from that aspect, I'm not surprised, right? GMs tend to emulate each other, right? Like, there's a lot of trades at once, and then sometimes there's nothing going on. So it's clear the market isn't very low right now, but you have to think with NHL hockey coming back, it's going to start ramping up. I mean, the trade deadline's only a couple of weeks away, so you have to think the trades will start pretty soon here. Yeah.
I feel the same way. I think we're going to start seeing a lot more action over these next couple of weeks. I think it's obvious that obviously like all these GMs just decided to not really do a whole lot over this period of time. I don't really know what the exact reason that was for. We talked about it on one of the last shows, maybe it being like how there were, a handful of general managers tied up in this tournament. So they weren't really going to be able to be doing a whole lot of, trades and business overall. So let's see it pick up here. And I think we all desperately want to see some movement, even if it's just us selling guys. We want to see the young players play for the rest of the season. We want guys like Craig Smith not on the roster. Sorry, Craig.
Exactly.
Part of it too might be Kyle Davidson and other GMs. So I think the other GMs too, here's the other part of it. In my mind, a lot of teams, like how many sellers are there right now? You know what I'm saying? Like
Not
a lot.
Hawks, Sharks, Preds, but like they're in a different situation. Not really much. Yeah.
So I think over the next couple of weeks here, as teams start to, either fade away from the playoff mix or assert themselves more in the playoff mix, you're going to start getting more sellers, which is going to, create more market. And, the other thing too here is, maybe drive up the value of some of these guys as buyers start potentially getting into a bidding war for some of these players, right?
It definitely helps us out that there's not a whole lot of sellers.
Yeah, you think we'll be able to get a decent return for Ryan Donato. It seems all but gone at this point. And do we want to get into the Seth Jones thing?
Yeah, I think that's the big story here.
Yeah.
So Ben Pope, did he write an article about this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then he also, Seth said more stuff to him about it today that Ben Pope tweeted out like an hour or so ago.
Okay. So, I mean, I didn't read the article, so I don't know if you guys did or, what the thought was, or did none of us read the article?
No, I read like most of it. It's basically just like Seth Jones. It's kind of all behind the mask of like Seth Jones wants to compete for like Stanley Cups and like play in the playoffs.
He wants out.
But it's like, yeah, but I think that just as much as he wants to win, he doesn't want like an entire fan base not liking him and slandering him every single night because of his contract. I just think it's a bad situation for Seth Jones. Like, you're in the prime of your career and you're just like on a team that's not good, but you have such a big contract that everybody hates. Like, it's a horrible,
scapegoat.
Yeah, it's a horrible situation to be in. And so, yeah, he just talked about how his agent and Kyle Davidson have been talking about, potential moves and trades, and how he doesn't think that he aligns with the Blackhawks timeline. All these things are true. But yeah, it's clear that Seth Jones is not going to be on this team for, if he's still on the team this time next year, I would be absolutely stunned, because I don't think he'd come back from this.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily mean like the trade is imminent, but it definitely means that it's real, that they're working on possibilities, right? And that it's definitely out there now. Like, we speculate about it. This isn't speculation. Like, we know like he's pretty much on the market now. If the trade happens, doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen this trade deadline. It could be an offseason thing. Actually, I think it would make more sense to happen in the offseason, just with the cap situation, that going up. It'd be easier to make a trade for a team and not have to retain as much. So I'd actually hope this happens in the offseason, not the trade deadline. So we'll see. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you there. But the biggest thing is that he wants to move on now.
Yeah.
So
it's a two-way street, man.
Yeah.
Well, maybe. Yeah, probably.
No, it's a two-way street. Yeah.
Yeah.
You think Kyle Davidson still wants to pay him $9.5 million?
Yeah, no. I was just thinking that's another thing too. Like, if it happens next year, like, some young dealer could come in this team and kind of fill that void. So I think it would make more sense, to just kind of get through the rest of the season than, next year, fresh slate, right?
And hopefully he has a good, end to his season. Hopefully it's the best Seth Jones possible, and raises value a little bit.
Because it must be said, like, before this break, like, he'd been playing probably his best hockey ever as the Blackhawks. I hope now that this is out there, like, it's a different thing. But, like, things like this could tend to affect, like, getting people's heads, affect on ice play. I do hope he gives it his all the rest of the season, and it would help us, help increase his value. I think it'd be good for him as well, right? And he wants to show out for these teams, right? So I think it's a two-way street. You still want to perform, and you give your best while you're here, right? Hopefully he does that.
When I was scouring the web for like big international goals and assists that Blackhawks have had on the international stage, I was looking for like a good Seth Jones moment, and so I was there's that's the first thing. There's none, but B, I was like, obviously he was drafted really highly, a super highly touted prospect. That draft, it was kind of like him or Nate McKinnon. And just like, I was going on his like juniors highlights, and so many comments were like, Avs fan here, I really want this guy. I hope we get this guy. Like, Avs need to draft this guy first, blah, blah, blah. And like 15 years ago. And I just want to be like, still feel the same way. Like that.
It is crazy. Like I remember even like when I was a kid, like he was expected to go number 1 in that draft. Like I remember the hockey does that whole thing about it because I was still sub to them back then. And it's like, dude, like the Avs dodged a bullet there. I mean, I think it was Patrick Roy was a big part of why they ended up drafting a kid instead. So I guess they have him to thank for that. But I think it's safe to say it turned out pretty well for me. It wasn't even a Predator for very long, right? Obviously went to Columbus and we know his Hawks tenures went. So we'll see what the 4th team brings for Seth, right?
Yeah. Some Thomas in chat said Seth Jones is a great $5 million defenseman. Unfortunately, he's paid $9.5 million, and that's as true as it gets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Man, going back to junior hockey though, with Seth Jones for a second in that draft, like that Memorial Cup final between the Portland Winterhawks and the Halifax Mooseheads.
You love that game.
That is probably one of my favorite games of all time. That is definitely in my top 5 of best hockey games I've ever watched. And we actually got to interview the winning goalie one time from that hockey game, Zach Fucali.
Big 2013 Memorial Cup guy.
Yeah, I love the Memorial Cup. But yeah, that one especially, the Nathan McKinnon hat trick, the Seth Jones goal with the celebrate, like it was just, and those two got like, that was like neck and neck. It was a really big surprise that draft when Barkov went 2 and then Drouin went 3 and Seth Jones went all the way down to 4. Like that was a big deal, man.
Yeah, it's because he was a big, athletic, puck-moving defenseman, and they were like, "We've never seen this before," and it's like,
why does this sound familiar?
Yeah.
So let me read. So Seth Jones, according to this Ben Pope article that I'm skimming now, he didn't formally request a trade with the Blackhawks. His agent is Pat Brisson. So they are kind of working together to sort of figure something out. And I will read the quotes. I'm 30 years old. These are from today. I'm 30 years old. I still think I have some good years ahead. I hope maybe in a situation where I'm competing for a Stanley Cup and at least, playing meaningful games in May and hopefully June. So, and that's sort of where I'm at right now. Jones asked if he had a timeline for when he'd like the trade to happen. The next quote is, it's hard to put a finger on it. If it happens in the next 2 weeks, then it happens. If it happens in the summer, it gets later on, then it is what it is. I have a full no move and I do control it. But at the same time, we only control so much. As long as I'm here as a Blackhawk, I'm going to give 100% effort and max every night and help try and get this team better and grow.
It's as good as you'd want to hear, from him.
Yeah, saying the right things, I would say. Yeah, it's more they're exploring trade possibilities right now. It's not like anything's happening yet, but I'm sure they're working on it, like work out the kinks and all that. The money situation is what's tough right now. If you wanted to make this trade now, it'd be a lot tougher. It'd be a lot easier to make it happen in the off season. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the options are going to be really limited. I do think. Look, I've said this before. I'll say it again. I think retaining money on this. Well, yeah, Columbus won. But I think retaining money on this deal would make the Hawks incredibly big losers in any trade they made for Seth Jones. I just, I get it. Like the contract's big. Now there's the fact that he wants to move on. This hasn't really been a part of the discussion of Seth Jones. The fact that he is also now saying, you know what, I'd like to go probably play somewhere else too.
Because we didn't know that before. We speculated about it because there's always been this talk if he doesn't want to be here. But we didn't know that for sure. But now it's like it confirms that, right?
Yeah, but
doesn't hurt their leverage. Yeah.
If you retain on this contract,
it hurts you for Seth Jones is still hurting you in 2029.
Yeah,
for 5 years. Yeah, because it goes till 2030. So it depends on how much you're retaining. If you're retaining like half or even 2-3 million, like that means something. It's not great.
That's a roster player.
Well, also even if the numbers, like even if it's not a whole lot of money that you're retaining, you're still using one of your retention slots, and you only got 3 of them.
That too. Yeah, that would give up. Well, I think they have one more left, so right. So that would make it where they have none.
Yeah, but I think they're gonna have him back in the next year or two, right?
Well,
one of those good comic books, the Rantanen. So
yeah,
fair enough. Yeah, okay, yeah.
But that's also like retaining 2 and 3 million. That's the difference between spending $5 million on a free agent, Tyler Bertuzzi, Teuvo Teravainen, and like going and spending $7 or $8 million on a free agent. You understand?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like,
Or 14 million.
or 14 million, you know? Yeah, exactly. You know? So I think if the Hawks can do this without, and look, there are teams, you know, I've said Columbus a bunch. I'll say it again. He's played there before. His best seasons were next to Zach Werenski. That's a team that has the most cap space in the NHL, that has every desire to want to get better. You know, they've got some pieces on the blue line that are young, you know, but they also just traded David Jiricek away for peanuts. And it looks like, frankly, that might have been the right move. You know, they have Denton Matejchuk, who's going to be a really good defenseman in the NHL, I feel like. But, you know, other than that, like, why not bring in Seth Jones? The other team.
Pair him back for Werenski. Yeah.
Yeah, pair him back with Renski.
Dallas.
And that's a good first pairing. You know, the Dallas thing is tougher just because, you know, you still have the Ben and Sagan contracts on. You know, Miro Heiskanen makes a lot of money. You're going to need to re-sign Wyatt Johnston.
It'd be a lot.
But he's on
harder for
LTIR,
Dallas.
right? He's on LTIR. So for this season, at least, as a rent. But
Yeah, but you're not going to be renting Seth Jones because you haven't.
Yeah, because his contract. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, the other team I look at is like the Calgary Flames. Could be a good, like, that's a team that's really thin on the back end outside of Mackenzie Weegar and Rasmus Anderson. They also have like at or near the cap space of the Columbus Blue Jackets. The only thing with Calgary is, like, you know, you want to be able to weaponize that cap space, and same thing for Columbus too. But, like, you know, Calgary, you're going to have to re-sign Connor Zary and like Dustin Wolf as well. You know, I think Dustin Wolf is eligible for an extension this summer. I'd give him 8 years at whatever he wants if I'm the Calgary Flames, you know, within reason. But
oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. But
no.
I don't know how you would make this work because, like, the semantics of it. But there is the other Alberta team too, Stan Bowman. Maybe reunite him over there. But I think that there's no way you'd be able to make that work with the money. Yeah.
It's similar to Dallas a little bit, especially with the McDavid extension on the horizon.
Yeah.
You know, Lord knows what that's going to be. I mean, he's Connor McDavid, so he's probably going to
20 million could be at this rate.
It should be, you know, but
probably not though. Yeah.
It'll probably be closer to 15 is my guess.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
So I don't know how you make that one work or fit, but you know, Columbus is the one I'm really banging because you can move him to Columbus without needing to retain.
That's true. The reason I bring up Dallas too is like he is from there too. I wonder if that factors into it at all. Like Arlington, not Dallas, but I wonder if he's, you know, got a lot of family there. Maybe that's something to think about for him. But Columbus would be the most ideal because, like you said, you wouldn't have to retain. And well, Flames, I might, because like their salary situation is like kind of like that too. So maybe they could get away with them too. Yeah.
I just feel like the Flames have more guys that they're going to want to use that cap space probably more.
Fair enough. They're in a different position. Yeah.
You know,
Columbus,
like,
he's got the familiarity. Yeah.
The salary cap's going up. You know, I've heard things that, you know, there are going to be teams that struggle financially to hit the floor of what these new cap numbers are going to be. You know, like the floor is where the cap is now for where the salary cap's going to be in 3 years. You know what I mean? So, and now you have teams that are paying, you know, Columbus has almost $30 million in cap space right now. You know what I'm saying? So to get to where the cap is now as the floor is tricky, right? And that's going to, so, you know, make it happen. Make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a
I do
team
think the
in
cap
like
going up is going to help them because if you look at salary cap inflation, etc., like this 9.5 contract, it's rough now, but like, you know, next year, a couple of years down the road, as this contract wears on, it's not going to be as much of a factor. You know, yeah.
Is there a team in like a better spot that you should be more bullish on than the Columbus Blue Jackets?
What do you mean?
Just like with the amount of young talent they have. And just like how much cap space they have, like the sky is the limit for that team because like they could add like a superstar to this roster, you know.
Us Sharks, Matt Delusion.
They could add 2 superstars to that roster.
Yeah, well, they're gonna. I guess I mean realistically they could. They're gonna have to pay. Actually, I guess they got Morchenko for 2 more seasons at this number.
And then what? He's an RFA.
And then Voronkov is Voronkov's last ELC year. So he's an RFA next season. So they're gonna have to pay him too. But still, I mean, you got fucking $1 billion in cap space. Like you're gonna be able to pay. It's not like Voronkov's gonna be getting $10 million. You know.
Yeah. Speaking of Columbus, we are playing them tomorrow too. Do we want to tee up that game a little bit?
Yeah. We can. So nobody has any more thoughts on Seth Jones right now. It's just kind of a wait and see thing.
Yeah,
wait and
I
see.
think so. Yeah, I mean, but we finally got these thoughts out that we've been speculating for a while. So I'm sure some dominoes will start to fall here. It's pretty exciting for sure. I know I'm sure a lot of Hawks fans are looking forward to moving on. But we got to make the right return happen. It's got to make sense. I got to do this right.
And I do agree with Justin's sentiment of this should be probably a move that gets made in the offseason, not right
I
now.
speculate that, but it wouldn't shock me if something went down sooner than we expect.
Well, I just think that your return is going to be better if you do it in the offseason.
Yeah,
Than
I think
if
it's
you do it
smarter
right
to
now.
do it. Yeah, I think it's smarter to do it in the offseason, right? You could trade your Donatos and stuff now, but like guy like Jones, you don't want to screw that up. Yeah.
My honest opinion, the return is not having to retain.
Yeah, that means
yeah.
And it'll be easier to do that in the offseason.
Yeah,
Too,
yeah.
Like the
I agree.
return, if you get a 7th round pick back for Seth
You do it.
Jones,
Yeah.
and you don't
You
have
have
to
to
retain,
retain.
Yeah.
Yeah,
do it.
The value
But
doesn't really matter. to me
I don't
much,
think
yeah.
you could do it right now without retaining.
I don't know.
Like
Yeah, there's only
if
a
you
couple
wait,
teams
if
out
you
there.
wait to the off season and that's where you don't get to retain, you do that.
Yeah.
Like if you can make the move right now, but you're retaining 4.75,
No,
don't
don't
do
rush it.
Just
Don't
wait.
rush it. Yeah.
Just wait until everything pans out for the rest of the season and go into the off season with that.
You think the Anaheim Ducks would trade Mason McTavish for Seth Jones? Third,
Wow.
notorious
I don't think that
third
makes
line
so
center.
I mean, maybe, probably not.
I think McTavish has a
they
much
just
higher
did the-
ceiling than that.
They
Well,
they also just did the Truba thing. They got Radko Gudas.
No,
I
that
don't
doesn't
know
make any
if-
sense
yeah,
for them. No.
I don't like
They have enough
personnel
defensemen there.
wise. Yeah,
There's been reports out there and rumors that Pat Verbeek wants some help on the back end.
he just does not care. That team is going to be poverty forever.
Yeah, what is he doing over there? What is that? That doesn't make any sense. For them, it doesn't make sense, but that's what he wants. Okay, take him.
Okay. Like Justin mentioned, the Hawks take on the CBJ tomorrow at the United Center, correct?
Oh no, it's
Or
actually
that one's in
it's
Columbus.
at Nationwide. And I will be there. Here's a fun fact, because I'm in Cleveland, so Columbus is only a couple hour drive. All 3 years I've been here, they've always played, but I've been on breaks. So I haven't been able to go, but now I can actually go.
Oh, there
In
you
my
go.
entire existence, the amount of Hawks games I've been to, I've never been to an away Hawks game before until tomorrow.
Really?
So that'll be a first time
Neither
thing
have
for
I.
me. I've been to plenty of away arenas. I've been to a ton of, but they've never been, the Hawks that are played. So this will be a pretty fun experience. I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to seeing the cannon, visiting the, I think visiting the Gaudreau Memorial and stuff like that. So yeah, looking forward to it. It's gonna be fun.
Hopefully you don't have to hear the cannon a bunch.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm just looking forward to seeing it. I don't want to hear it.
I've
Yeah.
also there's so many funny clips of players like flinching on the ice when the
yeah,
cannon
like,
goes off.
apparently it's pretty loud. Like,
Yeah,
actually,
yeah,
like it
it's
definitely,
like a
yeah.
fucking cannon, dude.
Yeah, so we'll see. I mean, I do think this is a game. I know Columbus had a good season, but like I do think this is a winnable game for the Blackhawks. So maybe I'm being delusional there, but it is the first game back from break. I do think that this Four Nations thing, I'm curious to see how it affects some of these teams, because like a lot of them have a lot of players, from these teams. So it's like, are they going to return kind of energized from this tournament? Are they going to be kind of sluggish, start banged up? The Hawks, there's no reason they shouldn't be fresh coming out of this thing, because Teravainen was the only player who was there and he hardly played. So you have to think maybe that's a slight advantage, but maybe not. Maybe they're a bit rusty, So I'm curious to see how they look tomorrow for sure.
Teravainen was back on the ice today for practice before they fly out to Columbus. So, I would expect that they're going to have, and I wrote this in the notes too, but I am curious this weekend, especially when they play the Maple Leafs on Sunday, how many players from the Four Nations face-off are going to decide to take the weekend off or are advised to by their NHL teams.
Ooh.
Like I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see either of the Kachucks, obviously. I wouldn't be surprised if on Sunday, Matthews, Marner, we don't see them. Which makes me want to go to the game a little less. But, I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. If I were the Maple Leafs, I'd probably tell them to take the weekend off. We'll see you next Tuesday. I think they play the Bruins or something. I don't know that that's, maybe it benefits the Hawks a little bit going into this weekend. I think Columbus is going to be in full force. They didn't, maybe they won't have Werenski in the lineup, right, tomorrow.
I will say it is kind of weird that like they have one day in between this Four Nations and the NHL. It almost like, and they had 2 days in between the Monday and Thursday. I almost feel like it would make more sense to do this game on Wednesday. I don't know. Am I crazy? Maybe it was the
No.
viewership. They thought Thursday night would get more views. I don't know. Like Wednesday could have done the Wednesday TNT thing they always do. I don't know. Just a thought. Yeah.
No, I don't disagree with that at all. I think they probably should have played the game on Wednesday and given the guys 2 days off in between.
Yeah, extra day of build up. You get more rest before the game. I don't know.
Yeah, it just feels weird to like jump right back into NHL hockey right as this tournament ends. It's like for sure for the players, it'll be a whole different ball game too. It's gonna be tricky for them to mentally get back into it, but they're pros, they can handle it.
It would suck going back to your team after like this crazy tournament and you're just like exhausted. But then like if you're around the playoff bubble and it's like, okay, I mean we have to win these games. It's tough, but I mean that's why you get paid millions of dollars. Suck it up.
Exactly. No vacations for those guys, right? But you brought Beretsky. Be nice if he was out tomorrow, because I think that would give the Hawks a leg up. But if he's in, I do worry, because he was probably you could argue he was the best player for the U.S. in this tournament, leading scorer in the tournament. Like, if we didn't already know it, like this tournament was just for the validation. He's one of the best defensemen in the game. It's the season he's had. I mean, he's got to be in the discussion. It's probably Quinn Hughes's or McCarr's to lose, but hopefully you got to think he's the third guy in that conversation, right?
Yeah,
for sure.
All right. And then obviously second half of back-to-back against the Toronto Maple Leafs, who I think also play tomorrow as well, if I'm not mistaken. So it'll be the second half of a back-to-back as well. Yeah, they take on the Carolina Hurricanes tomorrow. So it'll also be a second half of a back-to-back for the Maple Leafs with travel for both sides. I don't know how you guys are feeling about that one, or, if you feel any sort of way about this one.
I'll be interested to see who's playing and who's not, and how they look their first game back. It's gonna be like I could see some sloppy games as the first game or two back. Guys haven't played with each other in a little while. You're getting back, especially for the guys that were at the tournament, like almost an adrenaline dump a little bit, and it's like, oh, now I'm just playing with these fourth liners, whereas the fourth liners you were playing with at this tournament were stars on NHL. Yeah. So
it's just something the Hawks can take advantage of, because these guys should be, rested, etc. So is that an advantage or not? Is something to be curious to see for sure as they come back. Yeah.
Hawks Maple Leafs always play really entertaining games together, though.
Yes. Always. The last few years. Like, I was at the one last year at the UC when Korchinski scored that overtime winner. Like, that was a fantastic game. One of the best 3-on-3s I've ever seen. Like, Matthews was like stopped a bunch of times from side of him. Haven't seen that before. Mr. No Clutch over there. But looking forward to that one. It's always fun to watch those two original six teams for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I was at that game last year too. It was the day after Thanksgiving.
That's right.
And then I was also at the one with the Matthews and the Patrick Kane. I can't hear you. That was incredible.
Oh, one of the best regular season games. That was something else. Yeah, Kaner put him in his place. I know the Maple Leafs won the game, but Kaner, he put him in his place. Yeah, for sure.
I can already tell you how that one's going to go. The Hawks are going to take a 5-0 lead, and then the final score is going to be 5-4.
I'd be all for that.
No, I know.
That'd be fun. There are always high scoring games between the Hawks and Leafs, and tend to have zero defense whatsoever or goaltending. It's just ping pong back and forth. Yeah.
Is it like there's a lot of teams that play back? Not only is it weird, I feel like that they, only have a day off in between this.
Everybody's playing this weekend.
Everybody's playing, and a lot of teams have back-to-backs. Like, it's not just the Hawks. It's not just the
there's no easing back into it, right? It's like right away. Like, interesting. A lot of hockey.
Do you think any of the teams are sort of like, a little upset about the Four Nations? And
yeah, probably. Like, I'm sure the Bruins are.
Yeah, I'm sure they are. Do you think like the Senators are too? With Brady and like them hunting down
the injuries
spot
and stuff. Yeah, like how does this 4 Nations tournament affect some of these teams positively, negatively? Will be something to see for sure. Some of these guys are pretty banged up coming back, right?
Florida, you imagine with the amount of guys they send,
they still have like 8 guys there, something like that.
Yeah, and even like Barkov, I think Bennett, in the last Finland game against Canada, he was like he walked into the locker room limping, like.
Yeah. No, it's probably not great for them, but I think it's good experience too for a lot of these guys. Though I think in the long run, playing this tournament, would be a benefit for the guys that were there come playoff time, especially maybe some of those Leafs guys that had those experiences before.
Yeah, that more so for the Leafs guys, less so for the Panthers who have all done it. And Bennett too. We didn't really talk about him, but I mean, to have the kind of down year that he's had and then come into this tournament and score, arguably the biggest goal of the game yesterday for, obviously not the overtime winner, but that tying goal, which was so massive to kind of cut down that U.S. momentum. I mean, what a dog.
Yeah, I was dogging him when they put him in Saturday, like, oh, he was a complete non-factor in that game, and then he goes out to score the game tying goal. It's like anytime we start dogging people here, we tend to eat our words. So
And
that's exactly what happened.
It wasn't just the goal. I thought he had like a really good
Yeah.
game yesterday outside of that.
Well, he's a guy that's perfect for those types of games, those dog fights, those physical grinding type playoff atmosphere games. Like that's Sam Bennett's game for sure.
And he's talented enough to keep up with all the, the most skilled guys in the world. So
for sure. That's his bread and butter.
What a beast to have as your 2C,
The Panthers have so much guys like that. Like that's just a team that's just built for that style of hockey. And they just wouldn't shop you for that reason if they went back to back or at least go back to the finals. Yeah. But to get back to the Blackhawks here, one thing I do find curious, the lines are mostly the same here that they ran, prior to the break. I'll just read them out just to refresh your memory because I'm sure we're all very in tune with what the Hawks have been doing in practice this week. But Slager, Bedard, Donato is your first line. Kurashev, Nazar, Bertuzzi. I don't know what Kurashev is doing up there. I would put Reichel there, but anyway. Tabo, Foligno, Mikheyev, and then Maroon, Reichel, Smith, that infamous fourth line we've seen all season. You know how I feel about that. And then defense, we got Martinez, Jones, Vlasic, Murphy, Brody, Del Mastro. He must not be named, Brody. And then Alan Crevier. So why Brody's in for instead of Alan? Who knows?
I saw on X that Crevier took a puck to the neck today.
Right when he gets back. Yeah. So he can't catch a break. So that sucks for him. Not sure. We haven't really heard anything about starting goalies. So I would imagine, well, I don't know how it's going to go. I'd say probably Mrazek and then Soderblom because Soderblom always seems to do well against the Leafs. So that's probably what they're going to do. Yeah, we'll see.
A couple of notes here. So apparently Crevier left practice early today. So maybe that's something to monitor too. I don't know if maybe there was a setback there or anything. Or
it was a puck. I just said it was. He took a puck to the neck, and so Sorensen said he had to get stitches, and I think that's kind of all we know right now. So hopefully he's fine. It was just like a cut. Hopefully there's no like deeper damage than that.
And some more Blue Jackets stuff too, teeing up tomorrow's game. Kevin LeBanc and Owen Sillinger will miss the remainder of the season due to injuries. LeBanc had shoulder surgery. And Owen Sillinger, the older brother of Cole, but he only played in one game, is having a knee injury that will sideline him. And the Blue Jackets also announced today that Boone Jenner and Kirill Marchenko have been activated off IR. Boone Jenner missed the first 56 games of the season this year, so that will be his first taste of action tomorrow against the Blackhawks this year. And Marchenko had jaw surgery, and he still leads the Blue Jackets with 21 goals, second on the team with 55 points in 53
What a
games.
season he's had. Yeah, so they activated off IRs, but they're going to draw right back in.
Yeah, they are.
Oh boy. Oh, that's great news for us. Not I was actually going to ask about him, so I'm glad she brought that up. Yeah. I thought he was going to be up for longer. I guess not. Yeah.
What do you got?
Who is this? LeBanc?
Kevin LeBanc.
Oh yeah, a Sharks legend.
Legend.
I was gonna say that'd be a guy for my next random NHLer segment there.
Actually, even I would know. Oh, maybe. Well, it's funny. He had a pretty good run, then he kind of disappeared, and now he's back. I guess I don't know. Interesting career for him.
Yeah, I think he scored 20 goals one year.
Yeah, and then he just fell off the face of the earth.
Yeah, so that's a perfect guy to have for that game.
Some news also starting to trickle in. I know we mused a few minutes ago about players that might not play. This weekend, it doesn't look like Matthew Tkachuk is going to play against the Seattle Kraken tomorrow night for the Florida Panthers. Sam Reinhart and Sam Bennett are expected to play.
Dogs.
Sidney Crosby is a game time decision for the Penguins game tomorrow against the Caps in the afternoon. Let's see. Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner are expected to play against the Carolina Hurricanes on Saturday. Wow. So I would imagine if they
Matthews have a tummy ache.
Yeah, literally.
I'd imagine if they play tomorrow that they will also play Sunday against the Hawks, and Connor Hellebuyck and Josh Morrissey won't play for the Jets against the Blues tomorrow as well. So some players are going to play, some players aren't. I think that was kind of what we expected here a little bit.
Yeah, not shocked by. Well, some of those are most surprising, but others not so much. Different note here. I don't know if we brought this up before, but Blackhawks assistant coach Kevin Dean is currently recovering from prostate cancer surgery, but he's back at practices, so that's good to see. It looks like he's recovering smoothly from that. So yeah,
is
good
it
to
Kevin
see him
Dean or Kevin Dineen?
Kevin Dean, not Dineen. Oh, he was a former Blackhawks assistant coach. He was there back in the Q days, I think. But yeah, he seems like his recovery is going smoothly, so that's good to see.
What
good
is
to see him
Kevin Dineen doing these days?
Wasn't he like a Florida?
He was the Florida Panthers. No, he was the head coach of the Panthers for a little bit.
He played in the NHL for a while too. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He also did a little women's hockey too. He was the head coach at the Olympics for Team Canada's women's team. I don't know. Let's see what Kevin Dineen is doing right now. Any guesses?
Probably coaching somewhere. I'm not sure. Probably some
That's a good
smaller
guess.
league or something.
Wow, really going out on a limb there, buddy.
Well, I don't know. Maybe he's done, but maybe he moved on to something else. I don't know.
What do you think he's going to be doing? Woodworking? Like what?
Oh, Betsy likes his woodworking. I know his dad was a woodworker. Let's see.
He is the head
You do
coach.
a lot of woodworking on Betsy.
He's a big Ron Swanson guy. I don't know.
Kevin Dineen is the head coach of the Utica Comets of the American Hockey League right now.
Boom. I was dead on accurate. Still coaching. Yeah.
Justin was
coaching.
right.
Big shock.
He is
Big analyst out here. I mean, you didn't have anything to say. You didn't have any guesses.
Yeah, because I would have never have guessed that.
Well, I guess you're right. Yeah.
Okay, you guys want to do Lankinen?
Yeah.
Sure. Blackhawks legend Kevin Lincoln extended by the Canucks. What was it? 4 years?
I think
It's 5 years.
4.5.
More than that.
No.
It is.
The number's 4.5. I'm pretty sure.
5-year, $22.5 million contract. So 4.5 is the AAV.
Huh. That's kind of interesting. What does that tell you about Demko's situation?
It means
Is
he's
there a
out.
correlation there?
It means he's out. I saw people on Twitter saying, for a backup? It's like, buddy, guys, Canucks fans, this isn't your backup anymore. This is your guy.
No, that's length the tank.
I mean, we kind of talked about it a little bit on the show, before the Four Nations throughout the season that I think Demko's wanted out pretty much this whole season while that whole Pettersson-Miller fiasco was going on. So, yeah, I think he's going to be on the move, and it'll be interesting to see what Quinn Hughes ends up doing because
who doesn't want out over there in Vancouver land? It's like nobody wants to play for them these days. And you have all these delusional Canucks fans who keep saying that, Bedard and Celebrini are going to go there. It's like, I don't think anybody wants to go in Vancouver land right now. It's like they can't even get their own locker room sorted out over there.
Yeah, it's like
it's just big trauma land over there.
Yeah, it's the biggest nightmare in the league, honestly.
Seriously, like, geez. And their future now, if Quinn Hughes is gone, yeah, good luck. I mean, yeah, maybe he's going to go join his brothers.
Well, I mean, they might just have to enter a whole rebuild, like tear that thing down.
That seems like where this is headed.
Yeah.
And that's going to take forever. That's going to be a long process. Took a while to build this up, and it lasted
trust
one
me,
season.
we know.
Yeah. We're in this show how long rebuilds take for sure. We're in the middle of one right now, for sure. If you didn't know. Speaking of rebuilds, how about we transition to prospect?
I wanted to say about Kevin Lincoln, like that's a lot of term for and a lot of money for a guy with a 905 save percentage this year and a 905 career save percentage in 130
Not really
games.
proven. Yeah.
I just think he's not very good. You know what I mean?
They saw him in that Sweden game and they were like, we got to give it to him.
Yeah,
now.
he was exposed. Yeah.
Look, I mean, like the Canucks aren't the worst team in the NHL. Like they're not the worst team. And so it's like my argument when we talk about Ryan Donato, it's like somebody's got to get the points, right? Like somebody's got to get some wins, right? You're not going to
it's not going to be Artur Shilovs.
Yeah. Well, if it's not Artur, like, you know what I mean? Like somebody's got to get some wins here. And he's 19-8-7, which like if you combine the loser point and like the OTLs and the L's.
He's 19-15.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like that's not
great.
That's not world beating, and 4.5, like that's like at least a tandem guy. You know what I mean? You're expecting him to at least be a 1A, 1B in a tandem with somebody, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that's just puzzling, with the Demko thing. I mean, it either means that Demko's not gonna play or Demko's gonna play somewhere else.
Yeah.
But
also it's like, wouldn't you want to wait for that to happen before you give this guy this money at this term?
Yeah.
It does feel a little premature.
Yeah, it's like wait that out. It's like the order of operations feels all janky here in Canuckland.
PEMDAS. Yeah.
And like with Pettersson too, and like how hard is that guy gonna be to move? Ugh, poor Quinn Hughes, man. Save my boy. Somebody come get my mans.
Yeah, it's not like he really lit it up at the Four Nations face-off either.
No, no, quite the opposite. He dropped a donut.
Oh, Pettersson. I was gonna say Quinn Hughes.
No, it's Lincoln.
Oh, Lincoln. I mean, he played well in the Sweden game, and then he got trounced in the game against Canada.
Yeah, it should have started Saros, but maybe they would have we would have been playing them instead. It would have won. I don't know.
No.
It's always if.
No, they would not have turned. Canada was going to score a lot of goals early regardless in that game. You could have had
They
Connor
almost
Hellebuyck
choked,
in
though.
that.
Yeah.
They fell apart at the end because they took their foot off the gas. But that was not because, Finland was fighting and clawing and was there the whole game and then just turned it on at the end. It was like when Canada tried, they dumpstered them.
Yeah. If Tabo Teravine was in the lineup, it would have been a different game,
true.
right?
That's
Delusion. Scratching him made no sense. But anyway, that's in the past. It would have mattered. I'm just playing. Canada was going to win that game no matter what.
All right. You guys want to do Friday mailbag?
Oh, prospect talk, then mailbag. I just got one thing to mention. That's all. Nick Lardis, 60 goals. He scored a hat trick this week, the other night. Every time we talk about this kid, he's doing something. 54 games, 60 goals, leads the CHL. The production this guy's putting up, man. It's like it's every day we got to mention him. It's because he's doing something. It's unreal. Yeah.
What do you think is in the cards for him next year?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think. Maybe he could be. I'd be surprised if he was on the Hawks next year. He could make that jump, but they're probably going to want to give him some time in Rockford first. Yeah. And then maybe if he plays too well for them, ignore. Maybe he gets called up and
maybe like a Frank Nazar.
Yeah, I could see him emulating that. I could see that for sure.
I think that'd be ideal. Start him in Rockford, let him tear it up, and then come play.
Yeah, that's probably what I would say. He's done with juniors. Obviously, he's got nothing else to prove there. So yeah, Rockford then Hawks. Yeah.
All right, mailbag time. Friday mailbag. Remember, we answer questions every single Friday. You can send them to us one of two ways. You can DM us on Instagram at Chicago Hockey Radio, or you can join our Discord. The link to that is also in the description of this episode, just after the RSVP link for the live show at Midwest Coast Brewing. So please send in your questions. We love answering them. They are a lot of fun. I'm going to start with this one. Not so much a question, but more of an observation. A rising tide lifts all boats, and regardless of who took home the trophy, the winner of the Four Nations was the sport of hockey. Everything in the community this week has been electric. The last couple of pods have been absolute cinema. There's so much new eyes watching hockey and that's the best thing that anyone could ask for. Geez, I couldn't be more excited for the Olympics and the next Blackhawks dynasty. So I guess that wasn't a question, but
I was gonna say, where's the question there? But thanks for glazing us, though. It's like that broadcast when Ray Farrar was glazing Slavin, not to glaze you guys, but I'm going to proceed to glaze you guys. So yeah, thank you for that.
That comment was so nice that it gave Tassos a stroke.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, Godzilla. He was like Godzilla there, having a stroke trying to read that.
Okay.
I didn't get that reference.
Me neither.
Every show I got to make at least one
Godzilla.
reference.
Does he read a book and have a stroke?
No, that's an old meme. It's like if when someone has a stroke, like trying to read something, like I don't know, like that's what that is. Godzilla had a stroke trying to read it out. It's an old reference. Yeah, niche.
All right, question for Friday. Now that the Four Nations is over, what player from the tournament have you had the biggest change of opinion on, good or bad? For me, I always knew Jacob Slavin was good, but not that good.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we've kind of brought him up, but I would say Fox I feel like got exposed a little bit.
Ooh.
Maybe he's just worked really well with the Rangers system there. I don't really necessarily look at him as one of the best defensemen in the game now. Like he's still a damn good player, don't get me wrong, but I don't put him in the same category as guys like, Hughes, Makar, Rensky, guys like that, even Slavin for that matter. Yeah.
Do you want to go?
Nicholas Montenpal. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't even know who he was.
Henry Yoki, are you?
I'll go. I don't know. I'm trying to think. Brady Tkachuk is my answer. Only because, with Brady, especially this season at times, he went through the 10-game goalless drought. To me, like there was always a gap between Matthew and Brady that seemed pretty sizable. Matthew is a player that can score 100 points in the NHL. Mm-hmm. And you always kind of knew that Brady has 40 goal scorer in the NHL written all over him, right? But for him, it's always been, sometimes I think the stuff on the side can get in the way for him a little bit to where he doesn't know how to be just as effective as Matthew yet. And I think that this hopefully kind of unlocked something in him to where he's going to now go back to the Ottawa Senators, and there's no reason he shouldn't be scoring 40 goals a season.
Dominant. He was the better of the two.
Yeah, like he was exactly. He was the better of the two brothers. And
he should have full confidence that he's one of the best players on the planet.
Yeah. And here's another thing: he's he's never had that playoff experience in his career. And it goes to show when they do get there, he's going to be that guy come playoff time is going to be a force for the centers, but they got to get there first.
Yeah, and my honorable mention, I will give one out. Joel Eriksson was tremendous for Sweden for me. One of the best two-way players in the game, and I just think he further cemented that status for them. Sweden honestly wasn't like, I know they obviously didn't make the Four Nations final, but like they got a point in every single game. You know, they won.
And they beat us.
They beat the U.S., and then their other two games were 1-goal losses in overtime. So, you know, I don't know. Like they were.
And Finland got blown out a few times. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, Joel Eriksson is my honorable mention. All right, who you got?
I'll say Thomas Harley for Canada. I was really impressed. He was able to, you know, he's probably one of their better defensemen realistically in this tournament against the U.S. You know, young kid can obviously hold his own against the best in the game. And I was, to be honest with you, not super familiar with his game before this. So just like Dallas is obviously a wagon. I mean, they're just loaded everywhere. And then for the U.S., I'll, you know, not to be just an echo, but Adam Fox was super disappointing, especially last night, the first game against Canada too. Just he's not as good as some of the other guys that you just mentioned, Justin, offensively, and he's almost a liability defensively. So not a huge fan of him. And then I'll also say Jack Hughes, just undersized, bullied in these moments. And yeah, those will be the guys that I mentioned.
Hope that narrative doesn't start popping up for a certain other player. But yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
All right. This one is going to be weird. I don't know if I'm going to. All right. Well, I mean, I'll read it, but you know, I probably should.
Is it wonky?
I don't know. You know, it's just a little weird. All right, hockey boys, let's get mildly political. I'd rather not, but we will anyways.
No.
I want to know if you agree with me on this take or not. Politics is a big reason this tournament is going so well. Don't get me wrong. This would still be great hockey, but the timing of this tournament helped reach way more people. Trump announces tariffs, and a week before the tournament, Canada fans start booing the anthem. Canadian stadium boos the U.S. anthem, and then three of their, the fights, obviously, at the beginning of the game. The Miracle on Ice story doesn't hit nearly as hard if the country we beat wasn't a political adversary. If that movie was about us beating Canada, it wouldn't be as legendary. Am I on to nothing? Are you guys also sick of the one-sided? Nope, it's not one-sided beef that Canadians have with Americans.
No, it's two-sided. It's very much mutual. It's a rivalry.
Yeah, it seems like they hate all of us, but the booing... hold on. It seems like they hate all of us when before the booing, had nothing bad to say about Canadians. I said this off the hop, and I frankly feel like I'm the most equipped to answer this question. Not that you guys can't, but I just feel like, I have a bit more relationships with people there and a bit more of an understanding on the situation from their angle. And I said it off the hop, like it is very tough. Like whatever side of the political spectrum you're on, there was a tweet that came out of somebody interviewing a player on the United States team that wished to be unnamed. And I might have brought this up on the show, but I don't know if I did. And they asked,
you brought it up.
How do you feel about them booing the anthem? And the guy was like, oh, well, I don't really like it. And then the guy responded with, well, how would you feel if, another country was threatening to annex you and calling your president governor? You know what I mean? And the USA player was like, yeah, I don't think I'd like that very much either. I'd probably do a little worse than boo the anthem. That was the quote. So, it's hard for us to really understand what that is like. I said that off the hop of the show when I said that Canada really, like, this was an emotional victory for Canada. Like, none of that clip I sent you earlier in the day, like, none of that is, like, that was pure emotion. You know what I mean? Like, that, it was pure, and maybe that, but, like, because I know other people that weren't on a live stream that,
yes, other people feel that way. Yes.
Express that same joy for that game.
Yeah.
Where to us as hockey, to you and Justin, like that meant the same in that same context. But to other people, like we're living in a world right now where there's a lot of like hate and a lot of, just unnecessary stuff that, gets people upset. And I just want everybody to, like, we've talked, like, life is all about love, and the hockey is all about love, and what happens on the ice is one thing or the other. Like I feel for my Canadian brothers and sisters. I really do. I can't imagine what it's like, and neither can either of you two, really what it's like to be a Canadian under some of these narratives that have been out there and things that have been said about your country that, has been an ally to the United States for so, so long. I don't love this discussion either, but it's not, like it did add to the fuel. It certainly added
that was
to the
a
fuel.
super long-winded answer
undeniable.
to undeniably yes. All the political stuff that has been around between U.S. and Canada, the things that Trump has said about Canada and about Trudeau, undeniably elevated the eyeballs and the attention on this game.
Yeah,
like undoubtedly. I don't even have to touch on any of the other stuff. Yeah.
I think deep down, I think Trump is really just a big hockey Four Nations guy. So he's really just been doing all this to spice up a tournament, right? And how about the NHL? Delusion.
No, don't think it's worth it, but it definitely did give a lot of attention to the sport.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Certainly did. Okay. Let's see. The worst fan base in the NHL by far is Boston. What are some other fan bases that are bottom tier?
Oh boy. Okay, let me think about this a little bit. I will say Oilers fans kind of annoy me a lot. I feel like no fan base complains about like officiating and stuff come playoff time, and Oilers fans, like they just yap and complain and whine about every single thing. They're just so annoying online. So I would say Oilers fans definitely up there. Let's see who else here.
To be honest with you, I don't know why Boston's any worse than Toronto fans. Like, what about
Toronto
Boston?
fans are just delusional, man.
Yeah,
like they're just on another level.
Yeah. So how is, like he said, we all know Boston. Do we all know Boston as the worst fan base? Like, why is Boston any worse than Toronto?
This was
I think Rangers fans
are a
are
very opinionated question here.
Yeah.
Hey, Rangers fans, because they're New Yorkers.
Yeah,
so
Rangers
they
fans
they
are
got to
bad.
be in there. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like who I have had personal beefs with on social media that I really don't like.
I think Rangers is the answer for me.
Yeah, they're. I would say
Canucks fans are
have been
insufferable.
Canucks fans have been
they'll
awful.
burn down their city if things don't go their way, and they're just Vegas they're just ignorant. They're new, so like I'm not gonna put them on the same level as
They're
them. Like,
spoiled.
they're just not. Yeah, then they're just not that like the hockey IQ isn't quite there. So Santa Predators like hockey IQ is not really there. So I'm not gonna that's a different thing.
Yeah, I'll say Canucks for mine.
Yeah, Canucks, Rangers. Those are kind of the answers here. All right, interesting question. Kind of a weird one.
Blues. I didn't even mention. Oh, actually, I believe no Blues. Actually, I mean, I feel like I have to mention them just because the Blues, but they're not that bad actually. Yeah, but like they're our rivals, so I got to throw them in there.
All right, Hawks question. Which prospects, if any, are you most disappointed in terms of development, not being as fast or not developing at all?
I mean, I want to say disappointed. I do think he's been playing a lot. I feel like if this question was a few weeks ago, I would have said him. But like he has been playing a lot better lately. To be fair, like his assists, his production.
To be fair,
I feel like since that brief call up to the Hawks, maybe that practice time helped him out because like, and I've been watching the Rockford games lately. Lefshunov has looked a lot better. So maybe he's so young. He's 19 years old. This is his first pro season. A lot of people on X are already kind of hitting the panic button with him, and it's like. We've been down this road before. I don't need to go over it again. Obviously, I still would have taken Ivan, but it's like that's in the past. We got to look at the future here. And I think Levshunov, the pieces are starting to come together. He's a very raw prospect. He's got a high ceiling, so I'm not really worried about it. I think he's gonna turn out fine for us. But still, I mean, just looking at his first pro season, I would have expected a little bit more. If I'm gonna be honest. So yeah, I would probably say he's up there. Some other guys. Oh, sorry, you go.
Yeah, I'll say Kevin Korchinski. Just because I am a little concerned. Like we know that the offensive talent is there, but I'm just a little concerned that he's going to be like a guy that's more of like your fifth or sixth guy, in that he's like a good puck moving offensive defenseman, but is just not solid and physical enough defensively. Kind of being like an Adam Boquist type player. I'm like a little concerned that could be a possibility for him. So I'll say him.
Yeah, I'd say he's the potential's there for Mano. He has all the tools, but
Yeah.
just I don't know. He's just that's not the most complete player. It hasn't been shown on a consistent basis with him. I think the emergence of Sam Renzel is that's been positive. Where it's maybe they could kind of cancel each other out there. We'll see what happens there. He needs to reach the pro level first. But that's a guy on the opposite of it that I'm really excited for. Man.
Trade Korchinski.
Trade him now.
Trade Korchinski in this year's first for Brady Tkachuk.
Like our first.
Mm-hmm.
So if we have the second pick, you're trading the Korchinski, you're trading that for Brady Tkachuk.
In a heartbeat, without even thinking about it for 1 second. For 25-year-old Brady Tkachuk, yes.
I'd have to think about that. If it was I don't know, the 4th or 5th pick, maybe, but second pick, I don't know.
I'd do it.
All right. Well, that's another discussion, I guess. Yeah.
Would you do that, Tassos?
The second overall pick in Kevin Korchinski?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Who's the first? Is Schaefer the first player off the board?
Sure.
So either Meese or Higgins.
If we had the first overall pick, I'd do it.
Oh.
If we had the first overall pick, I'd do it.
I wouldn't.
Well, actually, I would agree because I'm not a big Schaefer. So yeah, that one I would agree. If we're taking Schaefer, then yeah, trade that for Brady. But no, I think
Brady just proved that if you get there, he's gonna do it.
I would rather
you gotta get there.
I would rather trade.
Brady Tkachuk gets you there faster than any of those guys.
Can I? No.
Go.
I would say the Hawks do need a guy.
No.
Okay. Sorry, my bad. You're going. My bad.
No, I was just gonna say I do Korchinski in next year's first round pick. Not this year's. If it were 1 or 2, because then you can draft Schaefer, and whatever happens next year kind of happens. Hopefully with Brady and Schaefer and whatever other free agent augmentations you're able to make to the roster, you're better than.
They're probably not saying yes if it's next year's.
Maybe.
I will say though, Brady has been stuck in no man's land there in Sens land. I mean, no playoff appearances in his time there. That could change this year, but it's certainly far from a guarantee. And I'm looking at it here. They've kind of been on a downward spiral here. So it's if they go another year up the off series, I think he's not going to be getting a little. Seeing what his brother Matthew's doing over there in Florida land probably changes scenery. But he's a guy that could be a needle mover for the Hawks. And definitely a guy that they're missing with that just kind of physical grit and tenacity to his game. I think the potential he has at the Hawks, that could be.
How many finesse skill guys or undersized finesse skill guys are you going to take? And then you're going to take Michael Misa here? And then no, you need some sandpaper. You need a captain. You need a leader. Brady Tkachuk is everything. It is everything. This Hawks that we've been drafting, that'd be the last piece. I would do it in a heartbeat.
I do think you're underestimating Misa's potential, though. I mean, his production here is next level. I don't know. I think his ceiling, I wouldn't want to pass up on that.
I'll take Brady Tkachuk. Thanks.
So some honorable mentions here for our worst fan base in the NHL discussion. Flyers fans are definitely up there, plus Oilers fans. As an Albertan, it's the Oilers. Habs need to be mentioned. I don't think the Habs fans are pretty bad, honestly.
Yeah, they annoyed me a little bit of some of the discourse because I was onto it right from the beginning. It's no, we gotta take Ivan. They're no, you really want Levshunov, you really want him, wink, because they want to boost that propaganda. I'm no, I'm not listening to you guys. We gotta take Best. And
but they're they're educated fans. Oh
yeah,
you know what I mean. They know what they're talking about. They're not trying to rush the rebuild really in Montreal at all. They're patient,
they're not delusional. They're that's actually a good point to that. We're probably one of the most patient fan bases, which not many are. Yeah.
All right, last question. Do you think any more coaches will get fired this season? There have been a few coaches that come to mind, like Andrew Burnett, for how Nashville has ended up at the bottom of the league after having one of the most successful off seasons, or even Rick Tocchet for how Vancouver's team morale has kind of exploded despite being just a few points out of a playoff spot, but maybe could benefit from a wake-up call. I think Tocchet is a good coach and would maybe like him on the Hawks. Are any coaches going to get fired the rest of the season? I mean, I think statistically,
it'll be interesting to see what Buffalo does.
If the Rangers miss, maybe Laviolette.
But do you think in season?
In season, I
probably not.
I feel that ship has sailed at this point. You're not going to fire a guy now. It's kind of weird timing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't say so.
I'm trying to think. Could anybody fire their coach? Yeah, I don't really think so either, to be honest with you. Something would have to get like really ugly in a place, you know. Vancouver's an interesting one only because Nashville I don't think would do it just because you already kind of know what they're like. They're already so terrible. Like, what are they going to do? Like, maybe if they went on like
that's an off-season problem.
If they went on like a 12-game losing skid, maybe Barry Trotz looks at pulling the plug there. The Vancouver thing is interesting because Rick Tockett's deal is up. There's a team option for next season with Rick Tocchet, but Patrick Alvin has already oddly come out in the media and said, well, we're not going to make him coach here if he doesn't want to. And like, he's got to want to be here. Like, we're not going to have him coach on a team option, which is kind of weird. You know what I mean? Which is true. Like, you're not going to keep somebody on a team option that doesn't want to be there. So maybe.
Except firing that guy absolutely does nothing for that team.
Yeah. But if he doesn't want to be there anyways, you know?
Yeah.
But again,
they got to do something.
That seems like an off-season kind of thing anyways. Yeah. Like, if he's not going to return, then you have the whole summer to sort of get your guy. I just, you know, maybe if they went on a losing skid too, you know, they are currently in a playoff spot. They're 3 points up on the Flames. So, you know, if things went totally off the rails there, and, you know, they weren't able to recover because like the East playoff picture, you know, I had this in this show. We'll save it for Monday. But just storylines going into the rest of the season here.
Well, it's much tighter in the West.
Yeah, it's much tighter in the East. It's a 2-horse race right now.
I'm about to say, yeah, it's much tighter
in the West. It's a 2-horse race. Sorry.
Yeah.
You know, it's either going to be Vancouver or Calgary. Like Utah's not going to make. I mean, you know, I guess they're only 6 points out, but
no, they're not.
They're not going to make it. They're not going to make it.
Too much ground.
You know, it's
Calgary's 3 points. Yeah, they could still, man.
You know, so it's a 2-horse race. So I guess if Vancouver really imploded here, I could see it, but I don't know if there's another coach that gets fired this season.
Yeah, no, I think that ship has sailed. Like you ride out this stage. Yeah.
Ooh, you know a sneaky option though for that? Greg Cronin in Anaheim.
Oh yeah, his system there is it just doesn't work. I don't know why they're still trying to ride that out. You got to think that there's another change coming there. They've gone through a few coaches in recency though. Yeah.
All right. Anything else, anybody? Okay.
No.
All right, that was a long one. We're up against the clock. What? Yeah. We're up against it, dude. We're up against it. All right. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. Please tell your friends about this podcast. Share it with loved ones in your life, with strangers, with people you talk to on the train, on the bus, in a car, in the airport. Let them know that you are a CHR enjoyer. Follow us on Instagram. DM our Instagram account to friends of yours. Just be like, hey, these guys are like 12 followers away from 1,000. I want to personally get them there. I want to do it. So, you know, tell your friends about it. Subscribe to the show. Like I said, join us on Discord and Midwest Coast Brewing on March the 5th. RSVP link in the description of the episode. Leave a 5-star rating and review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. It's super easy. Google it if you don't know how to do it. Post-game shows tomorrow and Sunday. We'll be back with the show Monday. See everybody then.
Peace out. Thank you.